If I so with my regular code, it would just go to that one. So I had to make another one for a stream that was scheduled in advance. As it turned out, I wasn't even I didn't do that stream because I got busy. But yeah. So I think we are live, or is it a black screen? I don't know. But hello, everybody. This is not a scripting stream. This is, well, Leandro. You see the awesome Leandro below. I'll let him say hi in a minute. He kindly agreed to...
Hi. I said hi already.
In a minute. There you go. Yeah, I just thought that, well, Leandro kindly agreed to help me with my website situation, which I'll explain more in a minute. And then we were like, well, we stream everything. Why not just stream this, even if nobody is interested in this? Why not just stream it? Why not? So
why not? Yeah. So thanks for inviting me. I am Leandro. I have a channel in which I do a lot of programming and a couple things related to audio with Aria most of the time. And on my day job, I do websites. I don't do the kind of marketing website that we are going to do today. I do more of a platform. It's a platform for communication for students and instructors and education in general. But in any case, I have been doing stuff for the web for the better part of 17 years now. So that is my main expertise. And yeah, I'm happy to work with you on this one. And it may be of interest to some people because even if you are just a musician, you may want to have a website.
Yeah.
And not just be on other people's platforms, but also if you have a podcast and then you don't want to be on someone else's platform, you can host your own podcast in your own website. And you can do all of that for very cheap. It's not 100% free. You still have to pay, I guess, like $10 an year for the domain because you want to look professional and sleek, right? You want to have the best presentation. So having a domain is essential, and that costs money, and there is no way around that. But everything else can be free. The hosting of the media, even if you are doing a podcast, you have to host your MP3s.
Yeah.
All of that can be free, as we are going to do. As we are going to learn today.
Cool. I do want to ask you real quick about your day job. So, like, you're working on a platform. Is it similar to, I don't know, Discord and all that stuff? Like, people have a page and they go and kind of talk about topics and they can upload and...
Not really. So, the sponsor of this project is super generous and kind. He is my former advisor on my PhD. And he is an educator. He has been a professor at an university for 30 years at this point.
Wow.
And he has been using different platforms for communication over the years. And this is, you can think of it as a forum, but for your class. So if you have a question about a lecture, you go there and ask. And if you want to maybe ask for an extension on assignment, that's sort of thing.
Okay.
And also, it's used to coordinate the work with the staff. So you are the professor, you need to send some work for a teaching assistant, and you want to ask a course assistant how the grading is going, and all of that communication can happen in the platform. And there have been many platforms like
Moodle,
this.
I guess,
And
is some...
Moodle is an example, yes. But there is nothing like the thing that we are doing. I can give you the quick elevator pitch of what we are doing. So it is unlike Moodle and other things like that because Moodle tries to do a lot. It tries to do the communication, but also it can manage the grading. It can manage lots of things. It can manage the content delivery. You can have your course material in there. And
attendance and all that.
It is a big platform for doing everything. And this is great if you want to do everything in Moodle, but it's not great if you want to just have one or two modules from Moodle because it is more cumbersome to install, to maintain, to use. And the interface is just not tailored for that. The interface is for doing one big monolith with all the features in there. And then there are other offerings like Piazza and Campus Wire. And the thing about these platforms is that it's someone else's platform. So it is a service that you go to and you use. So it's great if you don't want to have any headaches, but if you want to maybe have more control and make sure that your students' data will be private, then it's not ideal. And there has been a history of, for instance, Piazza started selling students' data with their consent to some extent. You can opt out of things, but still they're selling that data to potential employers in when the person graduates, which isn't the best thing, I don't think.
Yeah.
And then they also started charging. It used to be free, but they started charging for their services. So, and it's a fair thing, right? It takes a lot of development effort and servers to run and whatnot. So it makes sense that they are charging. But we wanted to have something different. So like Moodle, this thing that we are doing is open source. And like these other platforms like Piazza, it is more slim and it takes care of a single problem, which is communication in the course, and solves that problem very well.
Cool.
And we are going to start a beta next semester just for a couple courses. And then it will be like a software as a service situation. But the whole thing is open source, has always been open source, and will always be open source. So you can go to our website starting next semester, and you may want to run your course there, but it's going to be a small controlled beta. So we are going to invite people to join the platform. But if you don't want to do that, you can always just download the software, run it on your own servers. And there has been a lot of effort into making that process as easy as possible. In fact, I developed a whole thing to package the app so that you could just download, double click, and you are running.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's the pitch of what I do on my day job.
Cool. And I guess on the topic of like websites, for people who are in the realm of audio, whatever it is that you do, I would say for me, definitely, like having a website helped a lot in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I was always like, well, I guess I always thought, I don't think I visited a website whatsoever between like 2003 to 2018. Like literally zero websites, because I would go on like social media, right? So social media was like the thing that I thought you would need to develop. But people do visit websites. That's just maybe like my Zoomer mentality to think, oh, nobody looks at a website anymore. But also the more I kind of like, and my philosophy was like, well, I just got to get good at what I do. But then there's this whole other part to it, which is like, you got to also have a way for people to find you. Otherwise, doesn't matter how good you are. People won't find you. They won't pay you. So the website has been a purely cosmetic thing that doesn't help the quality of my work in any way, but it's definitely like made me seem more legitimate. So I could deliver the same work, and I have a website versus not having a website and just being like an email. People just, it's all a magic trick, right? Like people don't exactly know what's going on with audio. So often they rely on their eyes. That's why in my pictures, I have a mixing desk in front of me, because I know people don't know what a mixing desk does. And I definitely know that they definitely don't know that you can do the whole thing with a mouse. But me sitting behind my system with a mouse does not look nearly as cool as me going like preamp, fader, wiggling, which is a total magic show. So this is why if you're watching this and you're in the realm of audio, I recommend having a website.
Yeah, and I think it helps you be found. I think it helps. It is like a business card, and as much as I don't necessarily like having a business card, I think it's important to have one these days. Like that's our presence. I don't get out I don't meet potential clients in person. So having a website is like having a business card. It's important and it helps you get found. And I think that at least if you don't want to have a website, that's okay. But at least I think you should have a domain so your email is not at Gmail. You can still use Gmail, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine, but don't give out Gmail addresses because, first of all, it doesn't look as professional. But second of all, what happens if you move away from Gmail?
Right.
Your whole brand for years is built around your Gmail address, and then you just move to something else, and then you can always forward, I think, but it's never the same. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have been using my domain for the longest time, and I used different providers. I went from Gmail to iCloud to my own self-hosted stuff, and it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the same email address. So there you go. My website used to be huge. I had blog posts and articles and recipes and whatnot. I had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things in there. And over the years, I simplified, simplified, simplified. At this point, it's mostly a business card. It's just a bunch of links,
Mm-hmm.
and
Ah.
I find that that is good enough for me for now.
Yeah, this is awesome, and definitely like my philosophy as well. Now, the current website that I have that like 100 people out of my 2,000 subscribers have visited or something like that is made by Wix, and I don't want to pay Wix for another year, which is where we're at now. And at least the idea started simple, but as always, I kind of made it like super complicated as time went by. I think I have a dark mode enabled or something, so I'm just gonna unenable that if it lets me unenable that. There's a hotkey to like make the dark thing go away, but it never works.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know that that was a thing. Oh, it's an extension. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a Shift Option A and Shift Option D, but they just never work. So that's cool. But anyway, my website is also pretty dark. And yeah, I thought it was simple, like black background, white text. There's some extra stuff like down here, and then there's like the real page. I do a lot of different stuff that I didn't want. I initially didn't want all of them in one place, and then everybody told me just make it all one place. It's less confusing than the alternative of you having like 3 websites, and then people search for you, they end up in the wrong place, they don't know where to go. So I have like the film work, which I put in my real page. That's just how everybody calls their like portfolio page. So I do some sound design stuff up here. Then if I wrote music only for a project, it's down here. And then there's other stuff like game audio and live videos and stand-up comedy and stuff like that down here. And then there's a separate music. Whoa, who's behind me right now? There's a separate music page, and then there's the tutorials page. The rest are candy, so like I don't really need to have a gallery. And then I really like your website, Leandro. Like, as I was looking at this, I was like, this would be really good, because it does feel like this is the main hub. But then from here, I can like go to YouTube, and now I'm somewhere else. And if I'm not interested in your YouTube, but I'm more interested in your resume, then I just click that, and I'm over here. So it's like a command center, and it spreads out really like that.
Yep. Very simple stuff. But it can get more interesting too. I can share with you a project that is usually secret, but it's a podcast that I have.
Cool.
And it, again, is free. And it is, as you're about to see, I sent you the link on the chat. Oh, I guess I should have sent that on the YouTube chat. Right? That
That'll
makes
help.
sense.
This is the Portuguese podcast you're doing with your wife, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's still very simple stuff. But if you're doing a podcast, then you need to host stuff somewhere for your podcast to even be able to show up on the. Oh, I can tell that you haven't updated macOS recently because everything is squished. We can talk more about that in the future. But I decided not to support Safari older versions of Safari all that well.
Let me
If you
open
look
this
this on
in
Chrome,
Chrome. Yeah. It just
it will look better.
cool.
I mean, everything will not be squished, but it's still functional the same. It's just the spacing that is better. In any case, yeah, if you are doing a podcast, then you need a website somewhere, and you may use someone else's platform for this, but it's straightforward to do this on your own platform. So we already talked about the advantages. I should also mention the disadvantages. It is going to be more work for you. You will get more control over things, but it means that you have to control more things. So it will be a more work. As I mean, if you want to do a really good Wix website or whatever other platform you use, there is also
Lots of work.
what is it called?
Squarespace and
Yeah,
Band Google.
Squarespace.
Yeah.
That's the one I was thinking about. If you want to do some really good stuff in there, you will have to do some work. Otherwise, your website will just look like the template that everyone else uses. So you have to come up with media like pictures, and you have to come up with colors and whatnot, and tweak everything about the layout and the thing that you're using anyway. So I think that in terms of the amount of work, if you do everything by hand like we are going to do, it will be probably a bit more work, and it's more specialized. So you will have to learn more about the lower level stuff, slightly more complicated
Right.
stuff. But that said, all the advantages, I think that they pay off. You will have more control over the thing, so your thing will look like your thing, and you will be able to host everything mostly for free if you want to do that. You can also pay for hosting if you prefer. And yeah, in general, I think it looks more professional.
And I just, it's also with Wix, there was a lot of features that I felt like, well, I'm paying a non-zero amount for these features and not really use them. So they have tons of really extensive. What is this sound? Is that? I don't know what's going on. I hear something very weird, like flapping in the wind. But anyway, there's a lot of features in Wix that I thought, oh, I'm not gonna use these, but I'm paying for them. So stuff like purchasing, like a lot of e-commerce stuff, and I'm not really selling anything on the website itself. It's more like when I hear about a job, I just send my website. It has all the things that people need to know about me in there, and then we just talk shop via email and stuff. So yeah. So I guess you said that I should have Visual Studio Code, and you said I should have Node.js, and I'm gonna get that as you explained. What's up?
Okay. So first of all, I want to know what we are doing here. Do you want to migrate the layout from your existing website, or do you want to come up with a new one? Do you want to migrate all the content, or just part of it? I know you had a poll and you asked people if they cared about the blog posts, but I don't know the results. So what are we doing here? And how much time do we have? I think we have 2 weeks, right?
We have until September 23rd for the website to go down. And I mean, if for a few days the website is down, that is no big loss to my operation or anything.
Okay.
But yes. Yeah, so the result of the poll was basically that a full 50% of people who voted did not even know that the website existed. So that's fun. And that's usually because I try to like do my rambling at the end of videos, and like I think a majority of people never get to the end of the video. The majority of people watch a little bit, and then I don't know, when they get their answer, they're out of there, or whatever it is. So yeah, so that's what kind of happened. And so in terms of layouts.
Now that you finished doing this, I just realized, can you download version 16? That's better.
16.9?
It's better to download version
Okay.
16.
Cool.
Yeah. I think that you can install one on top of the other. I'm not really sure, but in any case, I think that this should be
Cool.
better. That's not how I install this software, so I don't know how to manage this really.
Let me. I'll get to your other question in a second. Let's also answer the comments because I've been sleeping on those. Mike says, especially with people's channels, Instagrams, Facebook, etc., being taken offline by policy. I'm assuming you're talking about like how websites are kind of coming back and stuff like that. Earlier we were talking about this. Yeah, and I mean, I doubt I'd ever do anything under IDDQD sound that would be like cancelable. I try to keep it profesh. But I don't know. On Facebook, I have spoken a lot of trash, and so far haven't been canceled. But who knows what'll happen later. You Googled IDDQD sound and found the website a little while ago. Yeah, that's easy if you Google IDDQD sound. However, I guess, the dream is like if people also Google Reaper tutorials, that I show up, like at least on the first page. I know it'll be like Reaper blog, Kenny, and that is obviously the way it should be. But I'd like to be like the fifth result, and most of the time I'm not. So that is what's happening there. What's going on? Why is this just... Usually when you do a package thing, it'll get added as a drive down here, and then...
No, that's a DMG. Package doesn't do that.
So what do I got to do now? How the fuck do I not know this? I don't understand. This is embarrassing.
A DMG is like an image of...
Yeah, it's a disk image.
Disk.
Okay.
Yeah, and a PKG, it's a package. It is a bunch of files and a couple computer programs, a couple scripts that run when you install the package. In any case, you have installed everything correctly. So now we can talk about the things that we are building, and then we can come back to Node and what Node is going to allow us to do. If we need to use Node at all, it depends on what we are doing. In any case, what are we doing?
Okay, so I made a few notes here. This is like a wish list that I have. So simple design, black background, white text. I'm okay with like embedding videos and photos. I'm okay with hosting them somewhere else, and they are just like a window in my thing. But obviously open to your... that's kind of like the back end. So totally open to your feedback on all of that. Hopefully it'll be something that if you look on a computer, it looks good. And then if you look on a tablet or a smartphone, it looks decent. Again, like Wix gives me some good stats. So one stat that I know is that something like 98% of people who visit my website do so from a computer. And I get the logic of that. Like on a smartphone, you're not going to the website to download a blog post or actions or something like that. And most people who go to my website go there to like download a custom action or a toolbar or something. So then homepage, short bio, some testimonials, maybe like an embedded video of my latest reel piece. And then the bio would just be a long form bio, maybe one picture or two. The real page is, links to the media that I have online. Most of it is on YouTube. Some of it is on Vimeo. And then would be lovely if it's like 3 sections. So you could go like, this is the stuff I did for film sound. These are the scores. And then others is like all the other stuff. Music page, tutorial page, and then maybe there's like a form there for one-on-one classes, requests, and stuff like that. Then the blog, this is really the important part. And then super optional, like a gallery, and then maybe a separate contact form, just so in case people are coming to directly contact you, there's like a page with just a contact form. And then it'd be nice if there's like social media links kind of on the bottom panel that are always visible, and maybe on the top or on a side panel kind of way for you to navigate to different pages from any page. So if you're in the bio page, you want to go to the tutorial page, it'd be nice if you could like click somewhere.
Okay, and it seems like the priority is the blog posts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the blog posts are like why 99% of people go there, and then the real is like potential employers, which again, from my analytics, I know a lot fewer people go to my go visit my website than I send them to, but yeah.
Okay, I understand. Okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, most of what you're describing is something called a static website. It is not like Facebook. Facebook is not a static website. On Facebook, you go to facebook.com and you see something. I go to facebook.com. I see something else. And same for YouTube. You go to YouTube, you see a list of videos. I see a different list of videos. But on your website, everyone is going to see the same thing. It's static. It stays the same for everyone. And there is no notion of logging in. And there is very little in the terms of back-end processing. And this dichotomy between back-end and front-end in development is something that you hear about a lot, but there is no technical definition. But what I mean by backend is something that will do some kind of processing or logic, and there won't be a lot of this. It's mostly just plain text, images, links, and for the most interactive thing you described was a form for contact. So essentially, that's a glorified way of sending you an email, isn't that?
Basically, yeah.
The case? Yeah. Yeah. So it's a glorified way of sending an email. It's simple stuff. It's not like processing videos, for instance, or something like that. So, yeah. And then in terms of the layout, it seems like you don't necessarily need to keep or want to keep the existing one. You're happy to come up with something new.
I should have mentioned that. So then I contacted Wix, and they were like, you can migrate your domain, and they have some limited, really terrible options to migrate your media. You can just get one zip file of all the media, but that is very useless because like really it's like on the blog posts, I have little screenshots that are in my blogs, and they are all now just in this one zip file, but there's no way of exporting the blogs. So I had to manually export the blogs as like PDFs essentially, or as docx documents. And then the images that come with them are terrible quality. So then I have to kind of do some manual work unless you have a better kind of option.
I think I do. So how did you generate these doc files?
Literally copied blog by blog into Google Docs and downloaded as a docx. And I called their support and I was like, you really have no way of exporting blog posts? And they were just like, no, we don't currently have one. And like, really, you guys have so much useless crap and I can't like bulk download.
Yeah, but making it easier for people to go out of the platform is not their priority.
Exactly.
What is in this zip?
So the zip file. So if you look at the blogs, there's some images. Some blogs have like a download bundle or something like that. So all of those are stored in like the site media. So this zip file contains like all those images, all the screenshots, all the little download bundles, but totally in a scattered manner. So what I then have to do.
So you have the media, you have the images, you have the zip files, and you have the content of the blog posts, but you have a lower quality version on the blog posts and you need to relink everything.
The links are there actually. So that part is cool. So if I have linked text.
No, by relinking, I don't mean a link as in a website. I mean, you want to attach the media in the higher quality version to the lower quality version that you have in the doc file, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how about this? I propose that we have 3 weeks to work. And it seems like the only thing that we can do in weeks in terms of export, you already did. And then we are not necessarily keeping the layout. We want to keep the content, but we don't necessarily want to keep
We
the
are not
layout.
allowed to. So I
And
talked to Wix and I was like, can I copy the code? And they said, nope, we are not allowing you to do that.
fair. It is
It's
their
their code, right?
copyright, so
Yeah.
that's fine. It is. It is. So that's all right. And then they can transfer the domain to someone else. And okay, so I think that the way we can do this is we can start just by laying the foundation. Let's just make sure that we have a website, that it has a picture of you in there, and that we can push this to the web and that other people can find this. But it's not going to be under your domain right now, because we are going to then work on migrating this content to the new website. And then when we are done, this is probably going to take 1 week to do the migration and everything. But then we migrate the domain, and then we just we moved out of
Cool.
Wix. How
That
does that
sounds
sound?
incredible.
Okay. Yeah. And it is good to have a vision of what this migration is going to look like when we get there. So I'm going to propose an architecture where we are going to host and how things are going to work,
please.
which products we are going to use, because we are using Wix. Now we are going to migrate from Wix. We are going to stop using Wix altogether, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we are not going to use it for anything. And previously you used Wix for everything. You used it to get a domain. You bought idqdsound.com from them. And you're also using them to design the website. You're using them for managing the content. You're using them for hosting. And I suppose that if you have a contact form, they are processing the contact form and sending you an email.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So now we are going to replace this big product with smaller products that are more focused, that do one thing and do one thing well. And it comes back to that thing I said. You will have more control. If you don't like one of the parts, we can switch it. But you will need to know more stuff, because you will not go to one-stop shop.
Right.
There are other one-stop shops like Squarespace or whatnot. But I think that having this more granular control over things pays off. It may not, depending on what you're
Right.
doing. I mean, a lot of this I kind of take for granted because I have 17 years of experience in
Yeah.
this. But we'll see how easy or difficult this will be. I think it will be awesome. I think it will be a lot of fun.
I'm super excited.
I can share with you the products that I use for my personal stuff and also for my day job, because I am in control of everything about that product for now. In technical terms, of course, my advisor is to the person who owns the product, so he's in charge of making the decisions of what are we going to work on. But then in terms of how we are going to deploy, he doesn't care. So I'm in charge of all that. And I'm using the same architecture and the same products for everything. So the domain is something that you have to buy. There is no free domain, no free .coms anyway. And if there are a couple providers that give you free domains, but they are like not trustworthy. So we need a .com. And you have to keep paying for that forever. Domain is something that you have to pay forever. And currently you're buying that from Wix, but I use something else and I really like them. It's called Namecheap, and it's a cheap name, but it is a great product. And I wish some of these companies were sponsoring us, because we are doing free advertisement, but it's just the thing that I use. I pay for this and I really like them. So what they do is they do a lot. They do hosting, as you can see on the menu. They can sort of do everything that Wix is doing, but I use them only for the domain. So I go there to Namecheap and I pay, for instance, if I were to buy a .com right now, it's $6. I would pay $6 for 1 year and I would get a .com. And okay, but you already have one.
I have one,
so
and
you don't want to register.
Actually is still available for 1 more year. So it was a lot more expensive than this. I think it was $24 for 2 years or something. A lot more expensive than this, but whatever.
Yeah, actually, this is unreasonably cheap. I don't think that if you actually try to buy a domain, it will be that cheap. It's usually around $10 to $12 a year for a regular .com. Of course, better names, shorter names are more expensive. So if you want to get a random word.com, it's probably going to be $6. But if you want to get something like aria.com,
Right.
it will be more expensive. And it's probably taken at this point. But in any case, so yeah, I buy the domain from there, but you didn't buy the domain from there. So what you need is to transfer. And you can see there is a button there to transfer a domain.
Transfer to us.
So what happens is a domain, transfer domains. There you go. So what we can do is just, when we are done, by the end of this operation, we are going to go to Namecheap, to Wix. We are going to go to Wix and we are going to say, okay, I'm very happy to move away from your services. So I want you to take this domain and transfer to somewhere else. And I propose Namecheap, but there are thousands of alternatives. If you want to do your own research, you can go ahead and do that. But that's the one I use.
One quick question while we're on this topic. Since I do have the Wix still like available for another year, is there a downside to staying on there for another year and then transferring to like Namecheap, or is there an upside to?
First of all, I'm not even sure that is possible because I don't know Wix. I have never used
asked them. They said yes. On Wix, they said you can only have your domain from us and write your own code.
Okay. So we can go in there and we can see what they have there. So if they have something that allows us to control something called DNS, then we can use them. So DNS is like this address book. It is the address book of the internet. So when you go to iddqdsound.com, you are actually requesting this website from another computer on the internet. And that computer is somewhere in a server farm owned by Wix. But you can point this iddqdsound.com anywhere else. You can say that your computer at home is iddqdsound.com. And all you got to do is say to a DNS server, you have to say iddqdsound.com maps to the IP address assigned to me by my internet provider. So if you are in the US, it's like Comcast or Verizon. And if you're here in Europe, at least in Portugal, it's Vodafone. And I guess in Canada, it's going to be some other company. But they assign you an IP. And you can say this big number, which is my IP address, is the target of the iddqdsound.com domain. That's what the DNS server does. So if in Wix you can control your own DNS, then you can point to somewhere else. But I believe that what they will do, if you try to transfer the domain away from them, I think that what they will do is they're going to say, okay, start Namecheap, start charging for this domain next year. I think that's how this is going to play out, but I'm not sure.
That's awesome then.
Yeah, we have to look this up. I don't know. Maybe Namecheap would like to start charging you. I remember having transferred a domain, and I think that's how it worked. I had to go to Namecheap and say, I want to transfer my domain to you. And then they said, okay, buy 1 year worth of your domain. So for instance, $10. And then we are going to apply that on top of your existing allowance. So you're not going to lose any money, but we want to see some money for you to transfer to us.
Okay.
That's fair.
Cool. Very cool. That's nice.
Yeah. That's what I did back then. I don't know how it's going to play out. We can see. But in any case, why use Namecheap? Well, I like them first because if I need, I can talk to a human. And that's sometimes important.
Huge, yeah.
They have... it's a simple interface to work with to set up the DNS stuff we were talking about. And they do something that I really like, which is they forward email for free. So if you send email whatever at iddqdsound.com, you can get that in your Gmail inbox.
Awesome. Yeah, in Wix you have to pay, so I still have a Gmail email.
Yeah, and you're still going to use Gmail, and you can still continue using Gmail for to actually see the emails. You go to gmail.com to see your inbox, and you can send email from there. But if you want to say to someone, or for instance, on your website, my email is aria@iddqdsound.com. You can do that. And then Namecheap is going to intercept that email and forward that to your
Cool.
Gmail address. And they do that for free, which I find nice. Many people would charge for that, but they do it for free. So there you go. That's the thing that I use to register the domain, but also to manage the DNS. So that's the full story. It's only a way to get a name and assign it to an IP address. So where do I host my website? I need to have my file somewhere. Some computer somewhere needs to respond with my
Right.
website. And for that, I use different things for different projects. But for this project, I propose that we use GitHub.
Cool.
And we talked about GitHub way back. It is this thing that allows you to keep the history of a project. As you are changing your Reaper scripts, you can go to GitHub and send new versions, and it's going to remember the whole history. And GitHub is okay for that. But what we are going to use is something else entirely.
Cool.
And it is this product that they have called GitHub Pages. The original intent was you have an open source project like your Reaper scripts, and you want to have a website for your project, for some documentation or whatever. And then you can use GitHub Pages to have a page, a website for your
Is
project.
that like
So that's how it
this
started.
thing? Like if you go on Garant Luff's,
Yes.
Okay, it's like it's not like the normal
Yes.
GitHub interface. Cool.
Yeah, it's a custom thing. It's your website with your material. If you go to liafac.com, you're going to GitHub Pages.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And same with my podcast. Lu is also hosted on
Awesome.
GitHub. So originally it was for hosting projects, hosting pages for projects, related to projects. But it's fair game. They say that, the GitHub people say that it's fair game for you to host other stuff there as well, like these pages, like the podcast and my personal webpage. And it's fair game. What is not fair game, but I don't think that they necessarily enforce this, but if you go read the terms of services, it's not okay to have an online shop in there. So if you start selling stuff on your website, GitHub Pages may not be ideal for you. But you are not doing that
But
right
you
now.
could, for example, just as an example, like you have a link to another page, Patreon, where people can go and support you financially. That's okay. Just like if it's like buy now
they don't care
and
about
it's
that.
like right here. Okay, yeah, I can work with that.
Yeah, they are not Apple.
Yeah,
They are
cool.
not Apple. Yeah, you know how Apple tries to take down your app from the App Store if you have any kind of link to Patreon.
Yeah.
They will take down your app. But they are not Apple. They are Microsoft. Okay, GitHub is a Microsoft
Cool.
product. So here I am defending Microsoft. That's unexpected. In any case, so GitHub just gives you the server that actually sends the file. So when you want to see my lovely little picture, GitHub is sending you that picture. So I propose that we use GitHub for storing the website and serving the website like that. And as you can see on your address bar, I don't have something.github.io. I'm using my own domain. It's something that you can do with GitHub Pages. And you can even see that it has a little padlock to the left of my name or to the left of the address bar. And that's kind of a requirement these days. You have to have that padlock in there. Even if you're not doing anything with logging and you're not doing anything with an e-commerce kind of thing, you still have to have that padlock there. Browsers will complain if you don't, and Google will not rank you as high if you don't have that. But GitHub just gives you that for free. Awesome. It's actually using Let's Encrypt, which is another project, but they are integrated, so it works very easily, very nice, just very professional. Awesome. So there you go: domain, DNS, email, and a website. Cool. That's all you need. So I propose that we start by just having something.
Sure.
We can use GitHub's domain, so you can have something like iddqdsound.github.io to begin with. And then we can put something there, just a picture of something, just to make sure that the whole round trip works. And then when we get the whole website with all the blog posts and all the things, then we do the migration. We go to Wix and we say, okay, now either transfer this domain to Namecheap, or if we have control over the DNS, point IDQD sound to GitHub.
Cool.
And then the new site will be
I
up.
have one question. Not lots of people, but basically, other than you, I spoke to 2 other people about my website troubles. One of them is John Tidy, and the other one is my old teacher. And they both actually said to use WordPress, or they said that they use WordPress. So do you got any thoughts on that? Like WordPress versus GitHub, pros and cons, anything like that?
So the comparison is not really with WordPress and GitHub. So I'm going to expand on this. Remember how I asked you, what are the things you want your website to do? And you mentioned a couple things. So WordPress is a solution for that part of things, for generating the website. So what WordPress allows you to do is, it is a big platform. It allows you to have different authors on blog posts, and you can sign in, and you even have add-ons to have an online shop. And just in general, it is a blogging platform with a lot of features. And it powers about 30% of the internet.
Wow.
It is absolutely the most popular project out there. But what it's not tailored for is this kind of static website that we are talking about. Except for the blog posts, most of the things you are going to write once, and then it's going to be there for a couple months or maybe even years. It's not going to change. And most of your website is static. And even the blog posts, you only post every once in a while. It's not like it's Twitter, which is updating every couple of seconds.
Yeah,
right?
I do like twice a week, 3 times a week.
Yeah, even if you had like 5 blog posts a day, it's nothing like Twitter, which has literally millions of updates every second. Okay, so it is a simple thing. And WordPress has all this power, but you need more infrastructure to host. So in GitHub, you can only host files. And some of your files are going to be like images, the picture of my face. Some of the files are going to be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the core technologies that make a website. But what you cannot do is host a dynamic website. You cannot host a website that will update every second. And this is only half true, but I don't want to get into the details. Almost everything I'm saying is only half true. I'm simplifying a bunch of things. Yeah, so WordPress is a lot more powerful, but at the same time, it is also more work to host. You cannot host a WordPress website on GitHub because it is not just a bunch of static files. It's not just a bunch of HTML files and images. It actually needs to run as a program on the so-called backend. It is a computer program that you need to keep running on your server. And then when you want to go to a page, that computer program is going to generate the page tailored, custom made just for you right now at that moment.
So I guess, another way to kind of tackle this is if this is my kind of landing page and this is on GitHub, I could have like a blog section, right? And then that blog is WordPress. And
that could work, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. We can have everything on GitHub, even the blog posts.
Cool.
In essence, your website is just a bunch of files, and it doesn't have to be a WordPress website. It can, and if you know WordPress, and many people know WordPress, as I said, it powers 30% of the web. So if you already know WordPress, it is a good strategy. It's a perfectly fine way of hosting a website. But I don't do it myself. I don't know much about it. And
me neither.
I haven't used it in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even more.
I used to work for a zine where we used WordPress, but it was very easy. Like I just logged in, I pasted the text there, and then I would like it would be something like submit to moderator. That was it. So I don't know, like more advanced ways of somebody else was managing the entire thing. So
See, so you just gave a perfect example of why you would want WordPress in some situations. If you have a bunch of contributors and you have some sort of moderation process and you have editors working on the project, so in that kind of structure, it may make sense to use WordPress because you're actually exercising all these extra features from the platform. But if all you have is just a personal website, you are the only person working on the website. I believe that having a static website that like the one we are going to build is better, and it's also cheaper because I don't think there is any host for WordPress that is free and that is good at the same time. There are some free ones, there are some good ones, but I don't think there is anyone that is good and free. Like Github Pages is good and free for the kind of static website I'm proposing that we have.
Let me quickly
It's not
respond
expensive.
to
With
Bo
$5
as
a month.
well. Bo says there's ways to export from Wix to WordPress. I didn't know that. I asked their support, like, is there no way other than manual to export my blogs? And they were like, no. So I don't know. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, go on, Leandro.
Yeah, so I was saying that WordPress is not that expensive either. If you already know WordPress or if you want to use WordPress, you can say, oh, no, I want to use WordPress because I have used it some time ago and these other people recommended and I think that I want to use it, then that's completely fine. I don't think there is any free way of hosting this, but we cannot use GitHub, use something else, and it will be like $5 per month, which is not expensive. It's doable. It's completely fine. And WordPress itself is free. The software is free. You only have to pay for the server that will run WordPress.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's up to you. Do you want to use WordPress or do you want to go the static website?
No,
route?
yeah. I think you sold me on GitHub Pages. Really, like my ultimate goal, like it's like gonna be some work to set this up and make it look nice. After that, kind of my main goal is paying as little as possible and kind of being able to just like when there's a blog, pasting the text there, adding my images and being done with it. So I think GitHub sounds like that is going to be that for me.
Okay. All right. So let's put something up on GitHub and see what it looks like. So in a previous stream, you have downloaded GitHub desktop, right? So open that guy and let's create a repository for your website.
New repository. And wait, I said new repository, but it just opened this. So I'm just going to go new. Okay, there we go.
There you go.
So I'll call it.
So for the name, we have to be specific. Back in the other window you have open, the Chrome window, it says that you have to, you can actually give this any name, but let me think about this. Yeah, it doesn't really matter all that much, the name. But if you want to follow the convention is your GitHub username. Like, I think it's IDQD sound, but I forget. .github.io.
Cool.
The description is optional, and the local path is important because that's where on your machine these files are going to live. Remember how you have all the files on your machine and then from time to time you push the files to GitHub. Yeah. So this is where you want to work on your machine on the website.
Right. No need for it to be on an SSD, right? This can be on my external HDD.
Yeah, that's fine. But it's also small, so it's up to you.
If I like, should I create a folder right here, or does it create a folder automatically if I point it to this folder?
I confess that I don't use GitHub Desktop, but I think it's going to create a folder, but I don't know.
Let's just do one anyway. Website, repo. Worst case, I'll have a nested folder. So right there.
Okay, so while you do that, Bo is asking how much stats do you get from GitHub Pages, like visitors, downloads, these kinds of um, analytics. That's what people usually call this. So you don't get this from GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages is just a way to host the website. It's just a server that sends the files when you want to get a picture. This is where the picture is hosted. It's on that computer over there on GitHub. Go get the picture. But that said, you can install any analytics tool you want. The most used one is Google Analytics. I think that's the name. It's a service by Google, and you can just install Google Analytics on your web page. And that web page may be hosted on GitHub Pages. It may be a WordPress website. It may be on Wix. It doesn't really matter. So you can find your preferred analytics tool, and then you can install it on your website. And that's something that we may want to do. So Arya, if you're interested in doing that, then make sure you add that to the list of things to do.
I do have Google Analytics. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think on the old, I think on Wix also, like it makes you get Google Analytics and it links to that. I think without that, it can give you some stats like page visits and stuff. But for example, the stats for which device was used to view my page, that comes from Google Analytics and not from Wix's stats. Wix's stats are pretty basic. Who visited, what percentage rate, like rise or fall in your thing. I don't know.
Or you can do like I do. I take the political stance of not tracking. So I on purpose don't install any of these trackers.
So Google Analytics will track the viewers.
I think that collecting analytics and tracking is not exactly the same. As far as I can tell, Google Analytics is not for advertisement. You're not like put in a group. If you go to Arya's website, then you're put into an interest group of sound stuff, and then you start seeing some sound-related advertisement on your pages. I don't think that Google Analytics does that. But just in general, I'm kind of against the idea of collecting analytics and tracking stuff. I know that it's important for marketing, but I take the political stance of not tracking, and then I don't do it. But I know how to do it, and we can install Google Analytics. It's super easy. If you want to do that, just keep it on the to-do list.
Okay.
Do it.
I added question marks to it because, I mean, I totally agree with you. Like, there's definitely some stuff I dislike about like having analytics, and I guess I don't know. Like, there's analytics like how many visits did you have, and I feel like that doesn't infringe on somebody's personality. But yeah, like what device was used, or I said personality, I meant privacy. So we'll have a question mark, and maybe we can talk about this a little more. I'm not married to Google Analytics also because really analytics are a way for me to just depress myself. I don't know enough to like use them to my advantage. I just go, oh, this blog post that I spent like 3 hours making was viewed like 10 times. And this other blog post that I just like did it real quick because I was feeling tired has more views, and then I get depressed. So really no, like I'm not using it in a way to like improve the content. I just don't know that much about this stuff. So not married to having Google Analytics.
Yeah, and there are other solutions, and some of them I think are more privacy preserving than Google Analytics. Okay, so how is the repository creation going? I was answering Bo's question and I was not following that.
So I guess I chose the path. Should I initialize with a README? No, that's
whatever. I don't care.
Anything here?
And then git ignore. I don't care about that either. The license is something that we can talk about. So one constraint for using GitHub Pages is that you have to have the source for the website visible. Now, on the web, the source is always visible anyway. You can go to any website and you can open the source for the website.
Is it Command and I and you get that inspector thing?
I usually use Command Option I. I don't know what Command I does.
Maybe I'm just thinking of MaxMSP. Cool. So this is that thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, if you command I, at least in Safari, it opens a page for you to share it opens an email, a blank email for you to share that page
Okay,
on
okay.
email. But if you command Option I, then you do see the source for the
Cool.
website. So the source is always available for you. But using GitHub, you are required to have that available as a repository as well on GitHub. And we already talked about what a repository is. It's just that history of the project. And you have to have that publicly visible. Now, it doesn't really matter all that much. The website is already kind of the source you can always speak anyway. So it doesn't really matter, but it's a requirement. But that said, now that we have to make this publicly available, the repository has to be publicly available, you can think about the license. The default license is copyright. You cannot copy any blog posts. You cannot use this in any way. If you have some sort of code or script that you share on your website, it by default, it's yours. People can look because it's publicly available, but they cannot reuse, they cannot change, they cannot redistribute, they cannot do anything with it. And if you select none, the default is copyright, and that's your license. Now, if you want people to just remix your stuff, they can download, they can change, they can send to someone else, I don't really care, then you have these other options like MIT and GNU and Apache and so forth. So how do you want to do it? Do you want to keep with the default? Do you want to have another license?
I mean, just to I'm okay with people downloading stuff and like using them in whatever. I mean, I wouldn't want people. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I definitely don't want people to change the code that is hosted on my site. But if they want to download it and do whatever to it, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, they will never be able to change stuff on your site. But what they can do is maybe they can download a script you wrote and you're publishing on your website. They can download, they can change, and then they can publish the
Totally
changes.
fine with that.
Okay, and then how about just downloading your script and then changing it and then not sharing the thing, maybe selling the thing? Would you be concerned with that?
I mean, ideally, like they would at least like ask and give some props. It's not like I'm gonna follow somebody to the end of the earth to get like $5 out of them. But you know, it's like if you take something, it'd be cool if you asked or just gave me some props, like original code taken from iddqdsound.com.
Okay, so yeah, and do you care about? Now this is gonna sound funny. Do you care about patents? If you have something that you have patented, do you want to make sure that no one can kind of reuse your patent? Do you want to protect that? Do you have any patents on
I do not have any patents to my name, no.
Okay, so I think I'm no lawyer here, but I'm going to give you some advice. I think that the license that you're looking for may be GPL, because with Apache, it explicitly defends patents. With MIT, you're giving complete freedom. You can go ahead and repackage my code and sell it. I won't have anything to do with that. By the way, that's the licenses that I typically use on my personal stuff. I use MIT. I don't care if someone tries to sell my stuff. I know that if they are selling my stuff, I will get some advantage out of that. I will either be more visible, or they will pay me, or they will hire me, or in any case, I will at least have the bragging rights of saying, see that product? Yeah, that's me. They ripped me off.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I use MIT. On my day job, we use GPL because my advisor is concerned. He said that no, if someone tries to download this stuff and resell it for money, then I want to be able to hire a lawyer and go after them. So so he went for GPL.
So I was gonna ask you your personal stance on this. And I mean, honestly, like realistically, I doubt anything I will write will be usable to a level of being sellable unless like your sales skills are through the roof. So I don't know, like, I do also, I think we do kind of agree on a lot of this stuff. Like, you know, education should be free, accessible, all of that stuff. So if you use MIT license, I think I'm happy to use MIT license.
Oh, here's another question,
Uh-huh.
actually. I guess this final one will decide the thing. What happens if someone else goes to GitHub, downloads your website, slaps on their own name, and start using your layout? They just changed the content. They changed the name, they changed the blog post, they changed the content, but they reused the layout. Do you
No,
care about
not
that?
at all.
Yeah, I don't either. So
Yeah.
that's why I use
Cool.
MIT.
I'm gonna do that too.
Okay.
And create it.
So now create a repository.
Ship lamps. There it is.
Yeah, and then click on publish this repository to GitHub.
Cool. Name is good.
And then uncheck the keep this code private, because you need the code to be public for GitHub Pages to work. Then publish repository.
So I'm just gonna call it something that is a little more whatever's. Cool.
And now let's go on Chrome. Let's go to github.com/iddqdsound, and we'll see this repository there.
There it is.
There it is. So click there and go to settings.
Yeah.
And then there is on the left menu, there is this pages. It's the second to last. And then your website is already up.
Cool.
So you can go to iddqdsound.github.io and you have a website there.
Cool.
Now, if you go there, it will say that no file has been found. But that's a good error to have. It means that your website is up. Other errors could happen if you go to something gibberish.github.io. Try that. Just write whatever.github.io, and that will go to a different error. There is no GitHub Pages site here. See, it's a different error. So this error is bad. This error means GitHub doesn't know that it's supposed to serve a website for you. But the error that you're getting is a good error. It's just saying file not found. I found that this is a website you want me to serve, but I don't know what to serve. You didn't give me anything. And in fact, if you go to your repository on the other tab, just click on iddqdsound.github.io so we can see the files in the repository, and you see that there is only the license there. But there is no HTML, no images, no nothing for you to serve, right? So GitHub is giving you an error message because it doesn't find any files, but it's a good one. That's the error message we want. So now let's put something there so that GitHub will serve a page. Now, what are we going to put there? Well, how about we start writing some HTML that we write by hand?
Sure.
So open Visual Studio Code. Now let's go to Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is just a text editor. It's like text edit on a Mac or Notepad on a PC, but it is more tailored for the kind of work that we are going to do. It's tailored for writing code. So it has some nice features for writing code. So just go to File, New Window. Let's open a new window for this. And then open the directory that you have created back when you were creating the repository. So just go to open. You don't need to say open workspace, just open. And you know, when you were using GitHub Desktop, you created a folder. Go to that folder.
I'm also going to put it on my sidebar because I assume I'll be coming back to this a bunch. Going to do that. And point it just to this folder, right?
Yes.
Cool.
And now on the left, we see a pane with a list of files. Oh, well, you have to first trust the author. You are the author. Do you trust yourself?
Yeah, I have no choice but to, I guess.
Yeah. So there you go. You can trust the authors, and this is going to enable some extra features in Visual Studio Code. In any case, you can see on the left the same list of files that we saw on github.com, right? You see the license file in there. And there's also this .git attributes that I don't honestly know what it's there for. I don't know what that is. Okay, so let's create a file. Oh, before we do that, on the bar on the bottom, there is this live share
Yeah.
thing. It's an extension for Visual Studio Code, and that is super nice because it allows me to join you in your Visual Studio Code session, so we can write code
Sounds great.
together, which is nice. Yeah, so let's set this up, and it's good for
Cool.
collaboration. And I think that sometimes I may want to type things instead of just dictating the code for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I need to sign in, or do I just send you an invite link or something?
At the end of the day, this is going to generate an invite link that you send to me, but this is taking a while to sign in. So maybe you can cancel this and try again. I don't know.
I don't even know how to cancel. Can I just...
Oh, on the lower right, there is this cancel button.
Oh, there it is. Okay. And let's just say share now.
Yeah, that sounds
Cool. Launch sign in. Come on, fella. Maybe it's because I'm streaming.
Don't think so. That is supposed to be super low bandwidth. I'm also trying on my side just to see if it works for me, and it does. So.
I'm also seeing like a red icon on my OBS. So I'm like, is this running really slow? Obviously, let us know in the comments if things are fucky.
While you're doing that, what I am doing is I am going to your GitHub on my computer. I'm going to your GitHub and I'm cloning your code. So it means that I will have a copy of your code here on my machine. And then if your live share doesn't work, then we can work on my machine instead. And that's completely fine. We'll share a session and it will be on my side instead of yours. But it's absolutely the same thing.
Sure.
So
I'm just gonna maybe even close GitHub Desktop and open it again.
Oh, if you want to close something, close
Visual
Studio Code. GitHub Desktop has nothing to do with that.
Wrong name. I did close GitHub Desktop by accident though. But whatever, we'll open it in a second. Let me try one more time. Activating extensions. And now the live share is no longer there, so that's fun.
But there is an icon for live share on the left bar, the bar with all the icons.
Live share, there.
Yeah, the last icon there is live share. So you can just click on the share button.
Okay, now something's happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's better.
Cool.
The first time you do this, you have to allow the sharing infrastructure to access your code. But that's only the first time.
Cool. Authorize GitHub. Sure. Sure. Failed with error, no such file or directory. Unix.
That's unusual.
That is unusual.
But maybe it worked anyway. You can just try clicking on the share button again.
Sure. Share. Share.
I don't know. Cancel the whole thing.
Yeah.
The cancel button on the lower right.
Okay. Now it seems like it at least signed in.
What gives you that impression? Oh, because there I see IDKD sound and a lock icon. Oh, there you go. So it created a link and it's already on your clipboard. So go to Skype, not to YouTube. We don't want everyone to join our session. So go to Skype and send me that link. Oh, I guess the link will show on the screen. So if you screenshot the thing.
Yeah, if you really want to be here, I guess
join us.
like be here. How do I hack a website and steal all their money? You're in the wrong page, buddy. We're not trying to hack nothing.
There you go. So I saw an error here on my side, but I think it worked anyway.
Cool.
So
Yeah, I
How
see your
about I just create a
purple
new file?
thingamajig, and I see you as a
Yeah, so
participant.
awesome. So we are now working together on this. Can you click on the first icon on the left on the thing that looks like two pieces of paper? This hello file I just
Cool.
created. So I created a file on your machine. I can have a session. You can even you see that pin on the upper right?
Yeah,
That pin, if you click on that, then you're going to follow me around as I edit
cool.
code.
Sounds awesome.
So I type here and you see it there. Isn't that
That is
fun?
awesome. Quick question. Can we, yeah. I just wanted to zoom a little bit in case people don't see well.
Okay. So this is a hello file. It's not very useful. How about we delete that file and instead we create a file that we can actually see. So I'm closing a bunch of tabs. I don't know if you follow along with the tabs I'm closing and whatnot, but in any case. So let's create a file that if we go to iddqdsound.github.io, we will see that page. Okay, so what file is served when you go to iddqdsound.github.io/aria.png, which is like the picture of your face? Well, it is the aria.png file. That is obvious. But what file is served when you go to iddqdsound.com? Or iddqdsound.github.io/nothing. What file is served in that case? Do you know?
When you go to, like when you currently go to iddqdsound.com?
No, when you go to any website, not any website, not really. There's, again, more deeper technical details there. But if you just go to iddqdsound.github.io, our new website, if you just go there, what file is GitHub looking for? It says file not found. That's the error we see. What file was it looking for?
I guess an index.html file?
Exactly.
Cool.
So index.html is just a convention. There's nothing really special about this name, but it's the convention. So go back to Visual Studio Code and you can see that I created the index file. And what do we put there? Well, let's put some HTML in there. So here is some structure to get us started. It's nothing fancy. I used autocompletion to just generate this template. And over here, you can see that it's HTML. When I highlight things, you see that, right? Yeah. Okay, so it is HTML. And there is some metadata here, like this title is what appears on a browser when you have multiple tabs open. The tabs are labeled, right? There is a name on the tab. That name is this name right here. So let's call this iddqd sound.
Cool. It's kind of like a repack thing. I guess it's the same code like HTML stuff.
Yes, both HTML and, well, actually HTML is kind of, but not really, a flavor of something called XML. And XML is what Reapack uses.
Cool.
So it's similar, it's related, it's from the same family, they all stem from the same grandfather, which is SGML, but it's not quite exactly 100% the same thing. I can give you an example of a difference. For instance, this tag, you can see that this tag here, it opens, but there is no...
There's no closer.
Meta like this to close. There is no close corresponding tag. And that's one difference between HTML and XML. Okay, so now we have, and this other stuff, just don't care about it. You don't have to care about this stuff. It's just some more metadata. In fact, this one is for compatibility with Internet Explorer. From your analytics, do you have many people coming from Internet Explorer?
Don't think I've checked that.
Yeah, I think it's mostly safe to delete this line. I don't usually have it on my websites, but it's up to you, whatever you want to do. If you want to support IE, I don't even know what this line does, actually. I don't know what kind of issues Internet Explorer has. That is this thing even solves. So I usually delete this. But these other things are important, like the language of your website is important, because if you have someone who is not primarily an English speaker, they will have a pop-up on their browser.
Do you want to translate?
They will have a pop-up saying, yeah, do you want to translate this website? So this is what hints to the browser that this website is in English and that you may want to translate to another language. And then this is like, what kinds of characters do you have on your website? And this is like, if you go on your website with a phone, how do you want to present that? But that's just boilerplate.
I guess quick
So don't have to worry about it
question.
so much.
So kind of similar to how like on a YouTube video, if the uploader has done this, you can go and like change to a different language subtitles or something. Is it possible like you have a website that's in English for a user that's English, but if it like detects that the user is say Turkish, then it would show not the Google Translate one, but for me to like personally add that. Is that a possibility? Cool.
Yes. So what you can do is you can detect where it's actually a hard problem. Okay. You can detect the location. You can detect where the person where the person is from, vaguely, because they may be on a VPN. If you have heard of that, they may be somewhere, but their connection appears to come from somewhere else. And there may be some sort of configuration for the kind of language that the person has going on their machine. So you can try to detect that on your website, but it's more advanced things we are not going to touch on right now. Yeah, but that's how, if you go, for instance, to I don't know, one example is Node.js. You had Node.js open on your browser. And if you just go to nodejs.org, you get automatically redirected to nodejs.org/en for English. So I think that the way they're doing that is based on your location, but I'm not even sure. But they are detecting somehow what language you most likely prefer. So now in the body, we can write something. So how about we write a title, and then in the title, we'd say IDDQD sound. How about that? Now I saved this. Now I want to see this on GitHub, and I want to see this on your machine locally as well. But I think I'm going to start with GitHub. So how about I can do this on my side, actually, which is super neat.
That's nice.
Let me see what happens when I open this window. Can you go back to Visual Studio Code for a moment? Okay. I was going to use the integration with Git and GitHub that exists in Visual Studio Code, but let's continue with the thing that you know how to do. So let's go to GitHub Desktop.
And just push.
And yeah, you have to commit first. So on the lower left, you can write whatever. Usually just write a dot or whatever. And then commit to main, and then the fetch button will change to push. So now you can click on the push button, and then we can first go to the GitHub interface. So go to github.com/iddqdsound/iddqdsound.
GitHub.io.
GitHub.io. No, so go to the other tab, the previous tab, the tab on the left.
Right here.
Yes, so refresh that one, and our index file is there.
Yeah.
And it takes a couple seconds, sometimes a minute, but usually not more than that, for GitHub Pages to pick this up. So now you can go to the tab on the right and refresh that one, and I think that our page will be there.
Cool. Not yet. Can I use this opportunity real quick to do a washroom break?
Yeah, but just so you know, it's already online. On my browser, I can see it. So it's probably just cached on your site.
Okay.
But whatever. It's just to say that it's already online and it worked. But we can see that when you come back.
I'll be right back.
No problem.
Okay. Oh, nice. Leandro did a thing as well. How? What is this thing? Should I clear my?
Do you mind if I tell you a keyboard
Sure.
some keyboard
I love
shortcuts?
it.
Yeah, so hit Command Option I. That is going to open the developer
Yeah.
tools. And then you can, you have the responsive mode enabled. You can, to disable that, click on the right pane, whatever. I just want the focus to be there. And then hit Command Option M, as in Mary. That will get you out of the responsive
Okay,
mode.
why did it also go away?
Oh, did I get it wrong?
I hit Command Option.
Oh, maybe I got the wrong keyboard shortcut.
M. That must be minimize. No, that's Command and M, so it's just not picking up my option. Well, I just lost you as well. Seems like my option key is broken. I'm just gonna try my other option. Nope, it's not picking it up.
Ah, okay, I know what the problem is. Am I back?
You are back, yes.
Yeah, so the issue is that the keyboard shortcut to go out of responsive mode is the same keyboard shortcut to mute yourself on Skype.
Oh.
Yeah, so just click on the icon on the upper left of this pane that looks like a phone in front of a tablet. It's just a couple rectangles on the left. To the left of the word elements. Click on that. Cool. There you go. And now hit Option, Command, and R.
Option, Command,
and this is going to refresh the page, but it's going to ignore the cache.
Okay. Wait, I gotta click on this side again? Why is this not working?
No, just hit Command Option R.
Yeah, nothing's happening.
Oh, no. Maybe that is another keyboard shortcut for something else then.
Command Option R. I'm trying to think. Is there... That is annoying.
Just go to Safari.
Okay. Same deal is happening here.
Oh, that is so weird. Do you have another browser installed?
I do have Opera. I don't know how to pronounce that. Opera. Opera. Yeah, that's how people pronounce it. Sounds wrong to me. idqd sound.github.io. There we go. Cool.
There you go. Yeah, we can learn about how to bust the cache of the other browsers, but it is there. It has been there for
a while.
Now. It works. Okay, so that's fun. We published the website. If we wanted, we could go to Wix and we could say, okay, point to GitHub now, either via Namecheap or directly, whatever. If you have control over DNS on Wix, you can just point to GitHub directly, and your website is up. And we have something there. Now, it's mostly a matter of coming up with the content. The whole hosting situation is dead. That's the story. When you create a new blog post, you commit, you push, you wait a second, it's there. Fun stuff,
yeah,
right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now we need to create the content. And at this point, you have thousands of tools that you can use to generate static websites. I'm going to share in the comments.
Sure.
Static. Hang in there. I'm going to share this link. Oh, come on. Where is this?
The internet is breaking. The internet's having a bad hair day today.
I just cannot seem to find this. Oh, I think that they changed names.
Ah.
That's what this is. Oh, it's a new website now. Okay, it looks great. In any case, so in the YouTube chat, I just shared this link, which is a list of tools that you can use to generate a static website. So all of these are, I guess, to some extent, they replace WordPress in that
Cool.
chain. They replace the thing that you use to generate the website. And as you can see, there is a shit ton of stuff that you can use. All great options there.
For some
And
reason,
they are
your
very
thing is
popular
not
too.
here yet.
Oh, maybe YouTube is preventing me from
Oh,
sharing too
tell
many
me what
links
to, yeah.
because I could be
Maybe
spamming.
tell me what to look for.
So, yeah, I just shared that on Skype.
Oh, cool.
So you can click on the Skype link.
I really gotta. I've been not doing this for like a million years, literally, and it's the easiest thing to change my default browser from Safari so that I can click on things and they open in Chrome. Cool. So next.js, Gatsby, I have heard about kind of vaguely.
Okay.
And then so some of them use different languages like Ruby. Gitbook, is that by the same kind of umbrella of things?
Yeah, it is. Gitbook is a static website generator that, as you can guess by the name, is more tailored for people who are writing books for the web.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, there are many books today that are available on the web. Some books are only available on the web, and that is a static website generator that is more tailored for that kind of work. You can see it's a whole load of
Right.
options to go for, and they're all great. And then I thought, oh, Pollen. Pollen is a great one. I contributed to Pollen. I know the creator of
Cool.
Pollen, and he is the nicest guy on
Very
earth.
nice.
Yeah. So Pollen is an excellent option. But then I said, oh, you know what? Do I really need one? And then I started to write stuff, and I realized that in most cases, no, I don't need one. So you can say that I'm not for my stuff, and I propose that we do that for your website. I'm not using a static website generator. And you can also think that maybe I'm creating my own and adding to this list, but it's not really like that. I'm just putting together the tools that I like, and I'm creating a static website static website
Is this
generator.
kind
So
of
that we don't
like
use
what these websites do is that like you say I want a black background white text and they will generate the HTML code to make that happen? Is that how it kind of works?
Some of them may do that. I don't know, but they have plenty of features, okay? But I'm going to explain like on a high level what they do. If you have several pages on your website, on my website, if you go to liafac.com, it's a single page. But if you have several pages and in your website, there will be multiple pages, like each blog post is a page. And then if you go to bio versus music, they are different pages. And some of the material on these pages is going to be different. The content itself, but most of the or some of the material will be the same. The headers, the navigation, the styles are mostly the same. The fact that it's a black background with white text is mostly the same. So you don't want to copy and paste stuff from one HTML file to the next. You don't want to copy your headers everywhere, because if you change something about the header, you have to copy everywhere, right? So in a nutshell, that's the kind of feature that a static website generator will give you. You can give it a template, you can give it some content, and it will spit out all the HTML files with the content embedded in the template. Now, there is a lot more that a static website generator can do for you. For instance, Gatsby, it will optimize your images so that they are the slimmest they can be for hosting on a website. It will give you tons of extra features like that. But most times, for most cases, a small website like the one that we are talking about, you don't need that. And you don't need to learn about all these tools, and you don't need to run them, and it's a lot faster. And if you really think that, oh no, but that feature I do need to optimize my images. I have a bunch of them, so I want to optimize them. Okay, so go to Gatsby, see how they're doing that, and it's mostly they use a library, and then you go ahead and use the same library,
Cool.
and then you go. So I sort of coalesced my static website generator using the tools that I
Nice.
prefer. And I don't use any of these tools, which is not orthodox. It's not how most people do stuff. And I have a video way back when I kind of started my YouTube career in which I sort of explain this approach, and I sort of create a static website generator because I see what are the most important features from these things, like a template thing I explained, and this and that, and then I recreated this using just plain code,
Cool.
and it works. So that's what we're gonna do.
Cool. Sounds good.
So there are plenty of tools that we need to install. And first, I want to check that your Node.js installation is working. So I am now in Visual Studio Code, and I opened a terminal window, but that's not working. So hang in there. I need to do something on my side, and I need you to do something on your side. So on your side, can you go to the share icon on the left, the last icon of the first section? And then there is this share terminals situation. Can you click on that? I want to have a terminal on your machine.
Cool.
And I want it to be read-write.
Read-write. Okay.
Yeah. So now I have a terminal running on your machine.
Oh, nice. So that is just like whatever you type there is like I open my terminal and type there? Cool.
Exactly. So I can do stuff on your machine. I can see where your files are. I can list the files in this directory. I can say, I can make your computer say something.
Whoa, that's cool. Yeah.
Cool, huh? The stream didn't hear that, or at least I didn't. But you heard something on your side.
I heard a voice
it has
say
to do with
hello.
the audio routing on your side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I have complete control over your machine over the terminal now, which is great. So now let's see if the Node installation is working correctly. And it is. Let's see if I can install packages using the Node package manager. And I can. Awesome. So that installation worked, and we are running version 16, which is the latest, and that's great. So now we can start installing stuff that we are going to need. The first thing that I want to install is something for you to be able to see this website on your own machine, because it is annoying for you to have to push to GitHub to see the changes, right? When we are developing this, we are writing a blog post, or we are now developing the styles for the website. We want to run this locally. We want to be able to run this locally. So I'm going to create a file real quick that specifies the dependencies for the project. So when you're running this project, it's only on your machine. When it goes to GitHub, it will be fully baked. GitHub doesn't care about this. But for development, for writing on the website, you're going to install a bunch of tools. The first of which will be a package of mine with this name. So we are now installing something. We are going to NPM, which is this other company also owned by Microsoft, that allows you to distribute pieces of software, mostly written in JavaScript. But what this one is a web server. So it is, when you go to github.com and you ask for your website, it's using a web server to serve your website. A web server is a piece of software that knows how to talk to the network, that knows how to receive requests and send responses. So this is a web server, and it's a fully functioning web server, and it's going to run on your machine only. It will only be accessible to you on your machine. All right, so install this, and then you can see on the left that we have 795 files that changed on the project. And that's because there is this new folder called Node Modules. Can you go to the first icon on the lower pane? Yeah, so there is this Node Modules folder, and in there will be the server. Patty is the name of the web server we are going to use, and it's in there. But we don't want to push this to GitHub because GitHub doesn't need this. This is for development. So I'm going to create a file called git ignore, And whatever I list on this file will not be part of the stuff that we push to GitHub.
Cool.
Git will just, as you may imagine, ignore
Mm-hmm.
files. So I said that I want to ignore the node modules. I had a typo there, node modules folder, and I saved that. And then you can see that number on the left is now 3. 3 files changed. The files are the git ignore file, the package JSON file, and the package lock
Cool.
JSON. Okay, so now we have a web server installed. Let's run this web server. And
yes, I will allow this.
yes, you can allow that. And then it's saying carry to serving static files on column 20. So this column 80. When you you know what? I'm not even going to explain.
Okay.
Don't worry
Okay.
about this. Go to any browser. Go to any browser and open a new tab. And go to localhost. Localhost is a special name. Localhost means your own machine. And you don't have to type anything else. Just say localhost and hit enter.
Oh, cool.
And here is our website running locally on your machine. Cool, huh? So we can do any changes. Back in Visual Studio Code, I am now changing the HTML file. And I saved a new version. And then you can go to the browser and refresh. And this time, I don't think there will be any cache. And you will just see the new page. You didn't have to commit. You didn't have to push. You didn't have to wait a minute. You didn't have to go to github.io. Just worked locally on your machine.
That's
excellent.
Dope.
Now, here's something that I want you to learn. On the command line, so go back to Visual Studio Code. On the command line, we want to stop the server real quick. Okay, so to stop the server, click on the terminal window so the focus is there. No, it's over
down here.
there where, yeah, where you see all these outputs. And then hit Control-C. And I didn't misspeak. It's Control-C. It's not Command-C. It's Control-C. So the server stopped. Now, if you refresh the page on your browser, it will say, I cannot connect. Nothing's there. Awesome. So you're running a server locally. And you can tell by the name of the package, liafac caddy. You may imagine that I developed caddy. I did not. I only packaged caddy. I packaged caddy so that it would be as easy to install as the thing we just did. So I packaged that, but the caddy is a thing that is production ready, has not been developed by me. It has been around forever. You can use this for, if you had a real server that you wanted to have, you wanted to serve some files from there, you could use caddy for that. Okay, so you know how to stop the server. And I ran in Visual Studio Code, I sort of ran this incantation that I didn't really explain, right? The thing that you see on the screen right there, npx caddy file server. You see that? Scroll down.
Yes.
The last line reads npx. So that's the command that I ran to actually run the server. And it's sort of an incantation, and it's traditional for people to store these incantations in the package JSON file. So you can see me here on the package JSON file. I guess this thing is not following anymore. But can you go to package JSON, not package JSON, not package lock, just package JSON. There you go. So here I am. So it's common for people to store these incantations in a scripts section of this file. So this file has not only your dependencies like the development server, but it also has things like to start the development server, run this incantation, please. So we just store this there.
So this now automates that process, like when I.
Yeah. So the cool thing about having this here is that now you don't have to remember this anymore. Usually there is a tab for this on the left, but it doesn't seem to be there anymore for whatever reason. But maybe go to terminal. No, run.
Ru-
Go to run on the top menu.
Run, yeah.
And I wish there was something else in there. Let me see real quick if I can configure this for you.
Sure.
Cancel that. That's annoying. Doesn't seem to work like this anymore. So that's the thing about Visual Studio Code. It's always updating, things are moving around, and I don't know where the thing is right now. So in essence, I guess what you have to write is kind of another incantation, but you may get used to this one. So the incantation goes like this. You can say npm, which is the node package manager. It's the thing we used to install the dependencies. We can say npm start. And that is going to run the caddy file server command, which starts the server. So if you go to the browser again and refresh, now the page is back there.
Yeah.
And except that I stopped. I hit Control-C on my side, so I stopped the server for you. But there you go. It's back. So you can refresh now.
Cool.
There you go. There it is. Okay. So now we know how to stop the server and we know how to start the server. We start the server by saying npm start. And there used to be some interface in Visual Studio Code to actually click on something and it would start the server, but it would just pick up whatever scripts you had in the package.json, but it's no longer there. So
quick question. So if I'm doing this on my end, I can do it. I can open this terminal and do it, or I can just go to my regular terminal and do it there. It's no different, right? Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to do that? Open a terminal.
Whoopsie daisy. My option key itself may be a little bit. So here, if I say npm start, it'll still like have access to that JSON package, or do I have to actually?
You have to be in the right directory. Right now, you are in your home directory. You have to be in the directory where this project is. Do you know how to go there?
Open or go to? No, I don't know.
So yeah, you have to be in the right directory for this to work. And I guess the easiest way to do that is open the directory in Finder. So go to Finder.
Yeah.
Find the directory. And then when you find the directory, you can go to the command line to the terminal, and you can say cd for change directory space. And now drag the directory into the terminal.
So I can do it from the sidebar, I guess. No, I couldn't.
Except that we don't want the thing that is on the sidebar. We want this directory, which is the iddqdsound.github.io directory.
So I'm going to just click it again, and I'm going to drag this. Cool. And then hit enter.
There you go.
I guess.
And then hit enter. And then, and then you're in the right directory. So say npm start there.
Cool. Nice.
And it started.
Cool.
There you go. So we have a server to develop locally, and we have installed one dependency. We know how to install dependencies now. Remember to stop the server before you close the window. Otherwise, you may end up with a zombie process. The server will be detached from the terminal, which is a bad state.
But otherwise, this terminal is just like a window to the same thing. There's no difference between them. Cool.
Yeah. Yes. The convenience of using this terminal is, first of all, it is on the same window, fewer windows to manage. And second, it is in the right directory already. You don't have to move there. But it's exactly the same as the thing you did in the terminal. Okay, so seems that I have made changes to this file. Whatever, I saved the file. Okay, so next, how about we start with a very simple functionality from a static website generator, but we are not using a static website generator. We are using the Leandro stuff. But how about we bring a couple more things that we can use? Something to help us write HTML, something to help us write CSS. So HTML, I think you know what HTML is. It's just the content
Right.
of your website. So the text, the blog post has some text. So that's the text, the material that will show up. But the appearance, if it will be white on black or what font and what size, all of that is
Cool.
CSS. And I have a couple libraries to help you write HTML and to help you write CSS. So I'm going to bring those in. So you see, a lot more control. You get to pick and choose. If you don't want to use my libraries, you can use someone else's. You can still deploy to GitHub the same way. So a lot more control, but at the same time, more work. You have to decide
And I
which
guess
tools you want to
these
use.
things that you're doing right now, this is like setup stuff. I won't need to do this like again, or at least for a while.
Yeah, you will not need to do this. This is just us creating everything from scratch. Right. So now we have this these two libraries installed. So I am going to start a file. I'm going to create a new file. I'll call it index.js. And what this file does is it creates the index HTML file for us.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to...
No, nothing.
ahead.
I said sounds good.
Okay, so here I am importing a library. It comes with Node.js, so I didn't have to explicitly install that one. And I'm going to also import my library for HTML. And I'm going to import my library for CSS. There you go. And I'm going to format the code by hand. Typically, I use an extension for that. Maybe you want to install this extension. I don't think that I can use the extension from my side.
Yeah, I guess not.
Let's see. Let me see. Maybe this is going to work. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Awesome. This works. So if you want to install this extension yourself, it's called Prettier. You can go to the extensions on the left pane. It's the little squares. And in there, you can look for Prettier. And you can install that. And that's the one that I use. It's very common. You can see that there are almost 15 million downloads for this guy. So it's very popular.
Cool.
That's the one that I use. Anyway, it helps you format code, so you don't have to care too much about code looking good. So you see back in this code tab, you can see that it's all formatted wrong. You can just hit the keyboard shortcut for formatting, and it turns pretty again. Okay, so I have imported my libraries, and I have to do a quick bit of setup here, which is like weird JavaScript syntax that you don't have to care about too much. Again, it's the sort of thing that we are going to write once and forget about it. Oh, and I imported the wrong library. I want to import promises. There you go. So now I can write file. And I'm going to write another file real quick just to see how that works. Okay, so what we are doing here is just writing an ARIA HTML file. And now when we come back here to the terminal, you can run index.js. And when it runs, it doesn't actually do a lot, but it creates this file. You can see on the left pane, there is now this aria.html file. It doesn't start any server, doesn't do anything like that. All it does is just create a file. And you can inspect the contents of aria HTML. It's hello.
Yeah.
Right? So why are we doing this instead of just creating HTML by hand? Well, the reason is now in this index.js file, we can implement things like templates and blog posts and whatever else you need, right? So how about we delete the aria file. We
Cool.
don't need that. And I will say that I want to write to index.html. I'm going to go to index.html and grab everything that is in there. And then I'm going to, over here, say that I want to write some HTML, and I'm going to paste. So now when I save this and I run node index.js again, the contents of index.html exactly the same. It's only going to change the indentation.
Okay.
So we overwrite the index.html file. And I'm not even seeing the change in indentation, which is surprising.
Do you need to run the index.js again or something? Like,
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to delete the index.html file so that we run our script and then we can be sure that it's creating the file. And in essence, so there you go, index.html, and it is still formatting pretty, and I don't know why that is. That is surprising to me. In any case, you see how we have a new line on the end of this line over here, but it's not even there on the index.html file? That is weird. In any case, just to make sure, yeah, the content is all right. So that's working. It's just weird. But there you go. This is a static website generator. Cool. We created one because we run this program and it generates a static website, the index.html. So now we can start doing more fancy things. Like maybe we can have the start of the skeleton for all the pages. All the pages will have a menu and a title, that sort of thing. So we can start doing that part, right? To make our lives easier, instead of having to run node index.js every time and then having to run the server also, I'm going to install a couple more things. Something weird is happening on the package.json file. I don't see the other dependencies listed here. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to maybe delete or start from scratch. I don't know. I guess I'm going to just install again these things.
Oh, that should have been automatically added to this package.json?
It should have been. Yes, it should have been. And I think it was. And then on my side, it showed that the file was outdated. And I think I overwrote when I saved.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I missed one, but it's all right. I'm going to install it next. So just hang in there while this is installing. And I think that the package.json file will update to reflect this.
Crazy stuff.
And it's all right for us to install a dependency on top of the existing dependency. It will just overwrite the existing one.
This is like, I'm even trying to come up with like an analogy of what this is like. But I guess this is maybe like what my partner feels like when I talk about like compression. Or so, even in that case, like there's, like there's so much visual indication that I feel like I can still explain a compressor to somebody who's not an audio person pretty quickly. I'd just be like, look, when it's loud, it goes down. So this is like, whoa, this is, and it also makes me like appreciate how easy of a life as like users we have, and we just don't know what goes into creating that experience. This reminds me of MySpace too. You used to be able to write HTML pages, but that was a lot easier. You got very little control. This is like do whatever.
Yeah, this is lower level. We get a lot more control over everything we are doing here. And I think there is a glitch in the live share situation we have going on, because on my screen, I see the file as you see the file right now with only the Leafak Caddy dependency. But in truth, the file in the file system, you can see in the terminal, I just printed that
And it has
file,
all that
and it has
stuff.
more dependencies in there.
Should I just manually add that
That
code up there?
No, that is not.
Okay.
That's not a good idea, I don't think. I closed the file on my side. Can you close the file on your side as well?
Just hit this.
Yes, hit this and
Don't
don't save.
And
then how about you close this one? You have another file open there.
this.
Index.js. It also is modified. Can you close that
Cool.
one without saving? I think that this will help resync things. Yes, so close this. Oh, so maybe that's why the indentation was correct, because Visual Studio Code was trying to be smart in some way, and you have another file there, index.html open, and it is not written, so you can close that one as well.
I'll close this.
And then you can close this one as well. So I think that this will help resync everything. And I'm closing everything on my side too. And then let's open package.json, and then yeah, I can already tell that it is there. All the dependencies are there. So now what we want to do, oh, I actually missed one, as I mentioned before. So I also want this other dependency that is going to rerun the file every time we change something. And this may not be the ideal dependency for this scenario, but we'll get to there later.
Updated automatically.
So now we have this package.json file. Yeah, there you go. So that time it worked. Awesome. So now when you run start, I want to concurrently run our caddy server as well as the script index.js. So you can see this node dev thing. It's just the regular node thing that we ran before on the terminal. We said node index.js. The difference is that anytime you change index.js, it will rerun the file for us. So now we can say npm start, and that is going to both start the file server. Oh, but it didn't pick up the changes from the package.json. So that is so weird. What's going on, Visual Studio Code?
What are you doing to me?
See, I saved the file, but it did not really save. Can you save the file on your side? There you go. So now I can npm start. And then it's going to concurrently run the server as well as rerun index.js every time that index.js changes. I hope. Let's see. So if you go to the browser right now, it will be the same as before. The page will be the same as before. And I even opened index.html in Visual Studio Code, and I can see that the indentation is different now. So that is all right. That is working. And then I changed hello aria to bye aria, and I saved. And I suppose that this is going to change the index.html file.
You made the change on index.js. So the index we're just not going to touch anymore. Whatever we're doing on index.js from now on. Cool.
Correct. Yes.
It's still hello aria when I refresh. I guess we gotta. No, we're not.
No, you're just hanging there. I'm missing something. Okay, I know what I'm missing. Just need to tell node dev to respawn. Yeah, can you go ahead and get into package.json and save? That's annoying that I had to ask you to do that. But I changed something about the invocation of node dev. I told it to respawn. So every time it terminates, it waits for any changes to the file and restarts. Now you can go to the browser and it will say bye aria.
Still says hello.
That's unfortunate.
Why?
That's cache. Can you refresh the browser? Can you force the browser to really not use the cache?
Was that Command Option and R? That just seems not to be working for
It was
me,
supposed to be.
which is very weird. Oh, cool.
There you go. It works
There you
now.
go.
Bye, Aria. Okay. So I'm now going to change the file. So without stopping the server, because I had to stop the server before to configure the thing differently, I'm going to change this to hello again, save. And you can see in the terminal that it's restarting the index.js file. It has been modified. And now you can go to the page and refresh and refresh and refresh and refresh real hard, and
now
it will say hello.
Let me just make sure this is viewable to our viewers. I think that looks okay.
So now we have a good setup. We have some static website generator of sorts going on. We have something that allows us to just save the file and go to the browser and refresh. And you can go even fancier with this. There are tools that if you save, it will reload the browser automatically for you. But I think that this is good enough in terms of convenience and ergonomics. So let's do just a tiny bit of styling to make this, to start making this look nice. And then we can move on to, or maybe you can even wrap this up
whenever you want.
Because it has been a lot of material, right? Okay. What did you say?
Whenever you want to stop, I can stop. If you want to keep going, like I can totally keep going. So far, I feel like this was like set up, so I didn't need, like, my brain doesn't feel overloaded or anything. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. Okay, so we are writing this HTML. I also want to do a bit of setup in terms of my library. I want to use this extracting line CSS stuff. Yesterday on my stream, I explained in excruciating detail what this does, but you don't have to worry about it too much. It's just a way of writing CSS that I developed. I came up with this style of writing, and it seems like for my own thing. What is it called? It's extracting line styles, not extracting line CSS. Okay, I fixed it. So you see on the terminal, the errors are happening in real time. So we save and the thing just updates automatically, which is great. So now, if you go to the browser and refresh.
Cool.
Things look different,
font
right?
sizes are all the same now, and I think it's a different font.
I think it's the same font. It's still the default font in a browser, Times New Roman in our case, because of your operating system. But yeah, it's different now. What I did is, on my styling situation that I developed, you start by resetting all the styles. The browser usually has default styles for many things. I just reset everything and start from scratch. I find that is preferable if you want the thing to look like your thing. So I just disable all the default styles. So now we can start doing styles for this. And I believe that you want a dark background. But do you want a dark background even for people who have light mode? It's a fair thing. Many people just have a dark background. Or do you want your background to change from dark to white depending on the mode the person has on their operating system?
Great question. I feel like I just want it to be dark, yeah.
Okay, so let's just go with dark. So here in my body tag, I will start writing some styles. So this is going to be CSS, okay? CSS going on here. And how about we have a background color, and then we want a dark background. You have the option of going with a dark, like almost black or literally pure black, but pure black is unusual in design. People usually go with an off black. Or you have an option to go with a kind of an accent color. On my podcast website, I go with an accent color. It's kind of a dark, I want to say yellow.
Yeah, it's still dark. Like, it's not like hurting my eyes. Yeah. And I guess on my website, I do have, this is not like pure black as well, right? This is just kind of like, it's pretty black. Yeah, I'm okay with like a dark purple, something like that would be nice.
So I'm going to send you on Skype Again, I cannot send links on
Seems
YouTube.
like, yeah.
You can, I guess maybe you can. So maybe you can paste this on YouTube for people who are interested. But the palette that I usually use to develop my websites is this palette that on this link. And you can just scroll to the bottom of the page and you see 1,000 colors there. And I usually go with these palettes. They help me design with colors that a designer chose, not go to the bottom of the page. There are more options.
Oh, cool.
And a designer chose these colors and they work well in many environments. So if you want to pick one of these, or if you already have like the color of your logo and you want to use that, we can
my
do that as well.
logos are just black and white. Overall, at one point in my life, I came up with a palette, and I can pull that up real quick, but I can tell you that it was black, white, kind of a dark purple, and kind of a this type of yellow. Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to go with one of these, or do you want to go with your colors? How do you want to do it?
Let's just pick one for now. Maybe let's go with the purple with this one, 800. 6B21A8.
Okay, so here back in Visual Studio Code, you can see that I'm picking a color, which is the purple color. And we want to use the 800, you said, right? Okay, so I saved this, and then you can go to your browser. But you know what? It's getting annoying that I don't get to see that, right? I wish I could go to your machine and I could see what's on your machine. I can always go to the Github version, but that one is out of date now. We are iterating on this. And we are doing things, and you can see that, and usually that's good enough. But right now, I want to see that, and I'm over here. So I think that if you go to the live share stuff, you can share a server.
Shared
so let's
servers,
try that. I never used that.
I'll just click on that.
Click on that guy. And I want to share port 80.
So I just say port.
So type 80. Just type 80, enter.
Boom.
And provide a display name for the shared server. That sounds okay. Localhost 80.
Sounds good.
Go ahead, hit that. And now there is this shared server. Let's see what I can do on my side with this. Oh, awesome. I can see on my browser what you see on yours.
So.
And the stream, of course, will not see that, but it's just a convenience for me. And no one else on the internet will be able to see this, I don't think, because we have a live share session that is private between us.
How does
so I can see the purple that you
these numbers get accessed by Visual Studio Code, or are these like universal values? So
which numbers?
You just picked color purple 800.
Oh, yeah. These are not universal values. In fact, there are universal colors in the browser. Every browser ships with a palette, but it's not sophisticated enough for doing design. It's good for prototyping, but it's not good enough for design. So in my design system, the Liafax CSS thing comes with these colors.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Tailwind is again, remember how I said that if I think there is something that I want to do, like I want to optimize the images like Gatsby optimizes the images, I go to Gatsby and I pick up whatever they're doing. Same story here. Tailwind is a CSS framework that I really like the spirit of, but I don't like to use it for technical reasons. I explained this in detail yesterday on my stream. I don't like the framework itself, but I do like the design decisions. I do like the colors, the spacing, everything that they have there. So I just picked everything from there and I developed my own thing, which I call Liafax CSS. So I showed you the colors with the beautiful palette that they have on their documentation, but I actually implemented it in a different way. So now we have the purple. Do you like the purple? Do you want to go darker? Do you want to go to a different hue?
You know what? I did think that maybe the background shouldn't be purple. It looks, I don't know, looks purple. I love the color purple. It instantly makes things look a little bit like a toy. So maybe Let's try warm gray 700, and maybe just so I can see if I got this. If I just changed that to gray warm 700. Okay, and then that will automatically get her done. That's cool.
Yeah. So I saved, and then we can all refresh, and it should work.
Yes,
I'm refreshing my site
it
and I
worked on
don't see
mine.
anything. All right, there you go. So
That
that's
looks
a dark gray.
decent. I like that.
Okay. Typically, people would go with something slightly darker. I tend to go with the 900s for my backgrounds, and then the 700s for highlights, for things that are like
Oh,
above, like cards or that sort of thing.
interesting. Yeah, let's do that. You obviously know more about this stuff than me, and I guess it's like at one point, maybe after the stream or something, I can also. Well, this bit is easy. I'll just go and kind of like keep changing colors and keep refreshing, and if something like jumps out at me, then I'm like, okay, there's the stuff. Yeah. Okay. So this is good.
Okay. Yeah. I can also recommend a book. I recommended this book yesterday, and since we are doing so much free advertising, uh, it's a book by the Tailwind creators, and it teaches you how to design stuff for the web, and it's a quick
Cool.
read. There are also some videos. Unfortunately, it's not free. That's one of the things that you have to pay for. But if you want to pay for it, it's an excellent resource. And it's also useful not just for interfaces, it's also useful for designing in general, like YouTube thumbnails.
I'm definitely
whatever.
interested in
Talks
this
about
stuff.
spacing and colors.
I think, yeah, I do like it. I do like to get better at all of this. And I guess I was going to get Skillshare, but also, yeah, maybe something like this.
This video is brought to you by us. We are paying
Yeah.
for this.
Sponsor us, Namecheap, and all you people over here.
Yeah.
Money.
Okay, so we are going with 900 for the background. Now, of course, the letters are black on a dark background. That doesn't really work. And typically, people will not go with a pure white. So over here in Visual Studio Code, I am already selecting a color for us. And I think it makes sense for us to be in the same gray warm situation. And how about
Sounds
200?
good.
I think that 200 tends to work well.
It's flashing. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, that is nice because also, yeah, like pure white is a little bit sharp for my eyes sometimes. So that is not like bright, flashy.
Yep. And then in terms of fonts, I think that this IDDQD sound thing is sort of like a display thing. It stands out. So we need to do something about that so that it stands out more. So maybe do you want to have your logo there instead of having just text?
Sure, yeah. That would be dope.
So here's something we can do. Do you have the logo somewhere laying around on your computer? Okay. I was going to copy it from your website, but that's better.
Sure. So I can pull it up. I do have it in the website media, but I think actually I have since updated this. Where the hell is all this stuff? My computer is just ever so slightly slow, and it's frustrating me. I have 3 logos, but I like this one the most. I kind of ended up using... I do like this one in concept, but yeah, I think this is the one I like the most. And should I use SVG or PNG? I guess PNG is fine, right?
Oh, if you have an SVG, that's perfect. SVGs are a format that, like Reapack and like
Scalable,
HTML, they are SVGs are XML based, and the browser understands SVGs natively. And SVGs are usually smaller than PNGs. So you can see that there is a
7
difference
kilobytes.
of, it's a 4
Yeah.
times difference in
So
this
what
case.
do I do with this now?
Can you just take a copy of this and drop it in
GitHub?
the
Sure.
website folder? On the website folder,
Oh,
not
yeah,
on
yeah.
GitHub. This.
Should I make like a media folder or something while we're at this?
You can if you want. The structure of this is free.
Cool.
You can do whatever you want. In fact, that's one of the advantages of using our own thing. With static website generators, you tend to have to put stuff in particular
You
places.
got to then learn that thing kind of
Okay.
on top of all the stuff you're doing.
Yeah. So now we have that media file in there. And then in our... Okay, I'm just peeking at the source of your SVG real quick. That makes a lot of sense. It's good. So SVGs can have sometimes a lot of crap in there, but this is super optimized, really. This is perfect for a
Good job,
website.
my friend Nova, for doing this. I'll put links to her work.
Excellent, yeah. So how about we come here to this file, this index.js file, and we replace this IDDQD sound text with an image.
So
And
H1 means like headline
image-
number 1, something like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it means
Header
header
level
level,
one. Okay.
1. When you go to Google and you find your website, there is a chance that it will look at your H1 contents to determine how to call that entry, the link
Cool.
in blue. But it's not a one-to-one correspondence. In any case, so I can now read file. Oh, I don't have autocomplete here. Oh, I do. Okay. I can read file from the media folder, and then it's called IDQD3, right? I guess I'll just copy the name from there. And then this is good enough, I think. I think that this will work. I'll save and let's open the terminal. And
Bo, you're saying, did your message, no, I don't know which message, but because I asked if you're also using Wix. So I don't know if you responded to that or if there's something else. Cool. Yeah, so now this says this.
So now the SVG is in there, but there are two issues. First of all, it's huge, and second of all, it's not in the gray warm 200 color that we wanted. And I think it makes sense to tint your logo to match the rest of the material on the page, right? Or the other way around. We could also put the rest of the material on the page using your color. But I think since it's just white, I think it makes sense to have a gray warm 200 on that logo as well. Okay, so let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and there are two things I want to do. The first, you can see that I did not actually delete the IDDQD sound text here in the H1. If you go to the page, it's still there. You probably have to scroll to see it.
It's right here.
But it's there. It's in the bottom. And the reason why I have it there is that we don't want to display this. You have the logo. You don't want to show the logo. You don't want to show the words IDQD sound. But as I said, Google cares about this. And also people who cannot see or have some kind of impairment and they have difficulty seeing, they may hear your website with a screen reader instead of seeing. So the logo is just a shape. But we want some material for Google and for screen readers. So I will keep the IDQD sound text, but I'm going to wrap the IDQD sound text in a tag that has this visually hidden. Give me a minute. I have to do some quick research on my own package because I forget the exact name of the class here. And the documentation for my CSS package is still a work in progress.
Let me know if you need any help with that stuff. I don't have a pretty
website.
You know, if you need somebody to just write a bunch of stuff that's somewhere, I'm down to do that.
Yeah, that could be nice. In any case, yeah, it's called visually hidden. So now when this picks up and updates and we can refresh, the IDQD sound word is gone. It doesn't appear anymore on the page. but the material is still there
Mm-hmm.
on the source. So
Mm-hmm.
Google sees that. Screen readers see
Right.
that. But people who are using their eyes to literally look at the
Mm-hmm.
page don't see that. And that's a technique that people use to have an image as a
Mm-hmm.
logo. And it's a term that it's related to a term you may have heard in the past called
Yeah.
SEO,
Engine
search
optimization.
engine
Yep. Yep.
optimization. Yeah, that's what we are doing. We are thinking about Google when we are
Mm-hmm.
developing the page, and that helps you get a higher
Right.
rankings when someone searches for
Mm-hmm.
Reaper tutorials, whatever. And the funny thing about SEO is that the acronym stands for Search Engine
Mm-hmm.
Optimization, and many people call it SEO
Oh my god.
optimization. So it's
Optimization,
Search Engine
optimization.
Optimization
Yeah.
Optimization.
I love when those things like catch up. Yeah, I get spam emails on that stuff all the time, and then yeah, I actually see that, and I'm like, you want me to pay you to do my SEO, but you're calling it SEO optimization. So now I'm like,
Yep. Okay, so I am taking a look at the source of the
mm-hmm.
SVG. You can see me. I have the SVG open in
Uh-huh.
a tab here, and can you hit Option Z? That will wrap the
Uh-huh.
lines. It's not Command Z, it's Option Z. So there you go. Then we can see the whole. It looks like HTML to some
Oops.
extent, and
Yeah.
it's SVG. And this is perfect for including on a web page because it's super optimized. You can see there are no new lines in
Mm-hmm.
there or anything. And also you can see that it's not defining a
Mm-hmm.
size. It's just there's this view box, which is like the viewport. What part of the drawing should I show? But there is no size. So because it's done this way, we can come to the index.js file and we have complete control over the
Cool.
size of the logo. For instance, I can put it in a
Uh-huh.
div, which is there's a tag that has no meaning. It's just a box. We can put it in a box, and we can have some styles on this box, and the styles can say something like
Cool.
width of, and then the same way that I have some default colors, I also have some
Sizes.
default sizes. So I'll just pick a space of like maybe 20. I think that will do. And a height, I'll say it's automatic. Just keep the aspect ratio of the
Uh-huh.
image
Awesome.
so that it has that
Cool.
width. And then I save that and I wait a little moment and I go back to the browser and refresh and refresh. There you go.
Cool.
It's smaller now on my side. So now we can decide, do we want this to be bigger,
Uh-huh.
smaller?
I guess on my
Do you like
website
the
it's
size to
not
begin with?
huge. It's slightly bigger, but yeah, I don't want it to be like ginormous.
So in the browser, we can play around. So when I'm designing, I usually design in the browser. Some people will design in things like Adobe
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. Some people will use
Mm-hmm.
Sketch, which is a Mac app for designing websites. Some people, and I guess this is the most popular option these days, will use this web app called Figma for
Uh-huh.
designing. I don't use any of those. I design
Cool.
directly in the browser. And first, because that's what I know how to do, but also I think that so much of the design is the interaction. How does it
Mm-hmm.
feel? Not for this website. It's probably so simple that just the way it looks is good enough. But I'm designing a platform for communication, and the way that it feels when I'm using it is essential to
Right.
the design. Sometimes I will change colors, I will change positions of stuff based on how it feels on my hand when I'm scrolling on my
Mm-hmm.
phone and I'm testing the
Mm-hmm.
website. So I think it's essential to have this kind of feeling when I'm designing. So I design in the browser. And I go back and forth between doing stuff in Visual Studio Code and refreshing the page. And sometimes when I'm tweaking something like the
Mm-hmm.
logo size, of course, we are iterating on this and we may want to change this later, but we want to go with slightly bigger. How big? I don't know. So I'm going to teach you what I do and we
Sure.
can do it together. So hit Command Option I
Yep.
in the browser, and that will bring
Inspector
the
thing, yeah.
developer tools. And then you can click on this icon to the upper left, which is like an arrow on
Yeah.
top of a
Uh-huh.
square. Click on that, and then you can click on the
Uh-huh.
logo,
Whoop.
and it will show on the right the SVG for
Uh-huh.
the logo, right? So click on the div right above the logo, and that div is the div that determines the size of the logo. So now on the bottom, you see width of a space of 20, right?
Width of a... Wait, where am I looking at? Oh, down here.
You're looking at this, in the bottom, there will be the styles tab, and then there is, I guess, the second section is determining the width and the height.
I
You
see
that?
space 20 height auto. I like the code that we wrote.
Exactly. So the code that we wrote is showing up here. So click on var. In the var space 20, there is this var open parens. Click on var.
Boom.
And then you can change this. So change from 20, change that to 24,
Sure.
let's say.
Oh, and it does it in real time. Nice.
Yes. So do you think that 24 is good enough for us to start? Do you want to go 28? Yeah, we only have some options. We don't have
see.
All the numbers
you have some
it goes
predetermined
in steps of 4.
ones. Yeah, 28 looks good.
Okay, so now that we like this, you can come back to Visual Studio Code and we can do 28. Because if we don't do that, then when we refresh the page, the changes
that's just a preview.
Right, but I already did. So I changed this to 20.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super.
And at this point, let me see. I'm looking at your current website, and there is this background image on the header. Do you want to do that?
Not married to it. Yeah.
Okay. So we can leave this for later. But the thing underneath that says IDDQD sound, I think that's important.
So I think that's the header thing that we did, and we hit it. I actually, because in Wix you can do the same stuff. It's just that like they do the code for you. So I thought to keep it, because also this just says IDDQD, and I was like, well, that doesn't tell people anything on its own. It's just literally a cheat code for a video game. So I thought IDDQD sound being there is like not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so coming back to Visual Studio Code, we can change this hello aria thing that we have going on. Maybe you can delete this whole thing. And yeah, so maybe the H1 will be the logo as well as the IDDQD sound text. So we don't hide that, right? So now I saved this, and going back to the browser, it is now IDDQD sound below. Now, I'm not in love with the default browser font. So how about we pick a different font? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a brand font already?
I have one. I love the way the cues look on it, but overall, like, I'm not married to it. So some fonts that I like are like Futura. That one is really good. There's another one called Xylem, which is good for like header texts, I found, but not great to be your whole website. It's a little bit like tiring to read it. So I think Futura is like good and readable. I really have fallen in love with Courier, the one that just RIA scripts use, but I don't think I've earned the right to use Courier. That'll write a check that my website can't cache. It's like, yo, this dude's a coder, but like, not really.
Well, you are now. You have scripts under your name and everything. So the thing about Futura is it is not a free font. So that means that either we have to pay for the font, or so there are a couple of things. Futura is a system font in macOS. So if you just say, I want to use Futura, and the person is running macOS and possibly iOS as well, it's just going to show up, and that's fine. But then, and some people do that, and that's fine. And then all you have to do is just go to every platform you care about. So you go to Windows, and you go to Android, and you go to Mac, and you go to some flavors of Linux, and you find what are the system fonts, and you decide which ones to use, and it will just work, which is great, because you don't have to pay for anything, and you don't have to host any extra fonts, and the person doesn't have to download the fonts. You know how sometimes you go to a website and
super annoying.
It seems like it's stopped loading until like 5 seconds later, the content just flashes on
Yeah.
you, and then it's in the right
Yeah,
font.
yeah.
That's because it's downloading the font for the website. So if you're using a system font, there is no font to download, and that's great. Now, the issue with that is that your website is not going to look the same on every platform, and that you have less control. You have to pick from the system fonts, and you only have so many
Yeah.
options. There is also this thing called Adobe Fonts, and I think you can kind of sort of lease the font. You rent the use for the font, and that may be free for kind of a small website, like the one you have. So you can look into that. I don't know too much about this because I have never
Okay, you
used it,
use
actually.
Courier for yourself, which Bo is saying is not very readable.
I don't.
Interesting. I always find it super readable. Oh no, this is not yet. This is not. What do you use?
So if you want to learn more about typography, the best way I learned about typography is, first of all, by reading a book that was written in Poland by that guy that I said is the best guy on earth. So it's called Practical Typography, and it is just excellent. It's going to teach you everything you need to know about typography in like one of them. Yes, Matthew Butterick is the author. So that book is great, and you'll learn a whole lot about typography. But the second best way to learn about typography is just when you see something you like, peek under the hood, because like I mentioned before, everything on the web is open source, sort of, because you can always peek at the source, and you can see what they're using. So go back to my website and do the thing we did. So Command Option I, and then that little icon on the top left with the arrow.
Oh yeah.
And then just...
And let's look at this one.
Put your cursor there, but don't click. Don't click. You can see
IBM
font.
Plex.
The size of the font is 14 pixels, and I'm using the font called IBM Plex Mono. So it's not Courier. It's monospaced, but it's not Courier.
Monospace means that every character is the same dimension, right?
Yes. And that's useful for coding because then the columns align. And when you do things like indent the code to make it read better, then all the spaces align better because every character has the same width. That's what a monospace
Bo says
font is.
avoid Adobe Fonts. It's a subscription model. Yeah, I'd like to if I can. And like Google Fonts has fonts, but is that a different thing? Like that would then people need to download it when they visit your website?
Yeah, so the story about Google Fonts is, it is like Adobe in the sense that you get a just collection of fonts that you can use. The difference is that Google Fonts are free. In fact, the font that you have on your current website is called Railway. And not on that part.
I guess I use Avenir,
so you're using multiple
and
fonts.
Avenir is what I also used on my thumbnails before I went with that GTA font. Avenir is another good option because I do like how it works.
And it's a system font on macOS as well. And when you the text that reads, "Please visit my show reel page for more," right on the front page, right, like the first thing you see on the web page, that's Railway. That's a free font. And so Google Fonts, it contains Railway as well as many other fonts, thousands of fonts in there. Most of them are garbage. Some of them are awesome. IBM Plex Mono is in there. It's one of the options in there. So typically, the way that people use Google Fonts is, and the way that Google Fonts advertises as well, is you just download the font from Google. So you go to iddqdsound.com, and then IDQD Sound has some CSS in there saying, oh, the font that I want to use is over there at Google. So your browser goes to Google to fetch the font. Now, the good thing about this is that it works. It's easy to set up. Also, it saves you some work from having to host the fonts yourself. The downside is that it leaks information about the user, and then it gets back into that tracking territory we were talking about. So here's what I do on my websites. I go to Google Fonts, I browse the list, I find one that I like, or I go to some other sources. There are other sources of good free fonts. In fact, Matthew Butterick has some suggestions on his book about fonts. In any case, I go to a font that I like, I download the font, and I put it in my project. The same way that we put the SVG with the logo, I put the font in my project and I serve the font myself. And it's okay to do that. The license of the font in Google Fonts allows you to just download and redistribute the font. So that's what I do. Now, the thing about Google Fonts is that it has a lot of stuff in there. And Adobe Fonts has a lot of stuff in there, but the Adobe fonts are usually higher quality. Most of the stuff in the Adobe catalog is really good, while most of the stuff in the Google Fonts catalog is really bad.
You gotta find
so you
the
have
good
to know how to
ones.
pick. Yeah, so Futura is not in there, and Avenir is not in there. Those are system fonts in macOS, but they're super expensive if you want to have them on your server and serve them for people who are not in macOS, because you have to pay a license per size. I mean, per size of the font, and also if you have too many users, you have to pay a license for visits, depending on the font that you buy. So I guess what we can do is maybe go to Google Fonts and we can talk about some of the options that I like in there, and we can see if there's something that stands out.
I do want to show this one if I remember the name, which I will never do. Oh, Rajani, I think it is. Is it this one? I do like some things about it, but like right off the bat, I don't like that S to look so much like a Z. So yeah, let's go to Google Fonts.
By the way, that font is also in Google Fonts.
Yeah, I think everything I have from Google Fonts. Everything that I downloaded kind of extra. Roboto is like gorgeous. I love that. You want it?
Okay.
Sorry, one sec. I gotta return the iPad to its rightful owner.
I don't need the iPad. Sorry,
Oh, you don't need the iPad. Oh, okay. Cool. No worries. Yeah, I do love Roboto. That looks great.
So that is the system font in Android, and it is the font used by Material Design, this design language, a design system developed by Google. So that is an excellent choice in terms of it. It is very professional, super polished. One indication of this is the amount of styles it has. It has 12 styles. So you can go really thin or you can go really bold, and it works very well. It's a good font.
Sold.
That's a good option, yes.
Sold to Roboto.
We're going to go with the Roboto? Okay. So, as I said, I like to download and use this on my own machine, right? Or in your case, on your machine.
I have Roboto downloaded, actually. I just don't know where I put it. Probably where GIMP needs to see it. So I'll hopefully find that in a second. No, it's not. It's the wrong place.
But you don't have to worry about it, because the font that you have installed on your machine is in a format like a .ttf or a .otf. And those formats don't work on the web. For the web, you need a font in a different format, a format that the browser understands, that is more optimized for web. And then it's a WOFF, which you don't have on your machine. So don't worry about that, because I know how to get it. So first of all, I'm back in Visual Studio Code, and I want to commit all the changes. So maybe go to GitHub Desktop. And we can review the changes and commit everything before we take this next step.
So this I need to untick.
Yeah, you can untick that.
And then
everything else is probably just good to go. So just go ahead and commit.
Beauty.
And I just wanted to create this save point so we can continue working on this. If I mess things up, it will be okay. So now, let me see. Okay. So I'm stopping the server now because I'm going to install more dependencies. Namely, I'm going to install the font. So let's go into the media folder. And do you want to have the media folder for yourself, or do you care if I just install some fonts in there? Do you want to have a separate folder for the fonts?
No, I'm okay with this. I can live with it being on the media folder.
Okay. So now I am in the media folder. I'm going to real quick create another one of these package JSON files. These are the dependencies for, not for development. These are the dependencies for things that we want to ship. For things that, for instance, the font, we want that to be in GitHub Pages so that people see that. So now I can npm install, check what's the name.
By the way, a weird tangent. What's really strange is whenever you run something from the terminal, your voice becomes a quick looping thing for a few iterations, and then it gets normal.
Oh, that's because we are sharing a connection. The live share is getting some bandwidth to do the terminal thing.
Yeah, it goes install, and then the rest of it.
That is so weird, but it makes sense. Remember how we talked about Video Ninja and WebRTC and on the stream extravaganza last Wednesday? So I explained WebRTC and I said that it's used for video and audio, but can be used for other things. I bet that Visual Studio Code Live Share is using WebRTC, so it uses bandwidth, and then my voice doesn't work when it's doing that. Okay.
Bo, not a fan of Didact Gothic because of the way the T looks. But yeah, anyway.
So there are multiple NPM packages that have Roboto. I guess I am going to go with, there are multiple options and I have to make a decision. I guess I'm going to go with this version and hope for the best. In any case, so this is just a package in NPM that has repackaged and distributed the Roboto font. The same way that I have repackaged and distributed the Caddy server, this is for the font. So now we have this installed under the media folder, under the node modules directory there. So now we have two node modules folder going on. One of them is for development. It's on the top level, and another one in the media folder. It's in there so that we have the Roboto font in there. And then we have a bunch of things in there. Okay. JS file again. So now over here in the index.js file, I am going to import some of these CSS files that import the font. Essentially, I'm importing the font. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to write a line that is going to be familiar for people who use Google Fonts, except that I will not point at Google servers. I will just point at my local directory where I have the font downloaded. So the line that I need to write is, I hope that autocomplete works. Oh, no. Oh man, that's all right. I think I can remember this.
How come I'm no longer seeing
like
your little purple header? It's weird.
Can you click on the pin on the top
there it is.
right?
Yeah, okay, got it.
And then when I type something, do you see that?
Weirdly, still no.
Yes. You see that. It's just you are on the wrong part of the page. I am typing right below the fold. Can you just scroll down just a bit?
Saw it. Yeah. Cool.
There. Style sheet, blah, blah, blah. I cannot even pretend that I remember this line. So I'm just
the looping thing is still happening, but disregard that, folks.
There you go. Okay, so I copy and paste it from another project, and then we need to fix this path. So the path goes like, I guess I better copy and paste this so I don't get it wrong. Yeah, this file looks okay. There you go. I copy and pasted, and I saved. So now this imports the font into the project, but we don't use the font yet. So here in the body, what I'm going to do is say font family. The font family is going to be Roboto. But what happens if you haven't downloaded the thing yet? As the browser downloads the things, it's going to use a different font while this one is loading. And you have to think about that. So while the thing is loading, I'm going to use any sort of sans serif. And in fact, this variable here, it comes from my design system, Liafax CSS. This thing, which is, of course, copy and pasted from Tailwind, but this thing has a bunch of good fonts for the different operating systems. We are going to see that in the browser real quick in a moment. So I saved that, and I have to restart the server. I stopped the server to install the dependency, right? So now I restart the server. And I wait a little bit for things to pick up, and I go to the browser and refresh. Then it's in Roboto. It's now in a different font.
Bo is asking when there will be more scripting stuff. I guess as like this is kind of like this needs to get up and running just because more people use the blog than care about scripting. So I feel like that needs to be slightly prioritized, as well as I needed to like get jobs. But yeah, we'll come back to it as soon as possible.
But Bo, let me tell you this. On my own channel, I am thinking about taking up a big JSFX project. I don't know exactly when I'm going to do that. Probably when my wife is away on vacation, which is going to be like 2 or 3 weeks from now. But I have this crazy idea that I want to play with.
Fun.
So I'll let you know the inside scoop on this idea, okay? Can I take this tangent? Yeah, okay. So the idea that I have is I want to have a couple effects that I want to improve the presentation on. So first, the auto mixer effect. I want to improve the graphical user interface on that. I want to have something that is like a multi-track, like the Reaper multi-track view, except that it will be in real time. So as you're playing, the project will be scrolling. And then I want to show the waveforms as they change in game because of the auto mixing. So I want to have that kind of visualization, which is better than the one I have today, which is just like a mixer, sliders changing up and down. I want to have that tracker view. And I want to work on a vocal rider, like the Waves vocal rider. I want to play with that because I'm interested in compression. And I want to try to build something like Re-EQ, you know, not the Reaper EQ, the one by just simply
REEQ.
You know
yeah, I know it.
Ari?
I actually may not have it.
Yeah. Yeah, but that one it looks awesome. It is, it lifts many good ideas from
Fat filter.
The Pro Q3. And I want to do something like Pro C2, if you know what I mean. I want to have a compressor that looks as nice as Pro C2, that has some, the drawing of the knee, and that shows you the gain changing real time, that plots the waveforms. And I want to do a project like that. But for all these things, I want better UIs. And I want to come up with my own design system for JS effects. So effectively what I'm planning on doing is taking my Liafax CSS, translating from CSS into JS effects, and coming up with my own UI library. Why not using the existing ones like the JS effects UI library that Arya is using for his EQ? Well, I don't get to control everything that is in there, and I don't really care, not for at first anyway, I don't really care about having graphical knobs and that kind of thing. I think that the sliders in JSFX do most of what I need. I just want to have better output. I want to show things more graphically. And Yeah, so I'm planning on doing something like that. So if that comes out, I will be designing a whole UI system, and I will be designing more sophisticated UIs with better colors. I mean, this UI for the auto mixer makes my eyes bleed. It's good that it helps you set the gain, it helps you set the parameters. It's a good visualization in that sense, but it looks like crap. So I want to make it a lot better, and I want a lot of eye candy. I want it to look like ReEQ. I want it to look like Pro C2, Pro Q3. I want it to look like, I want it to
Cool.
sizzle. So if I decide to really take on that project, there will be a lot of JS effects
Yeah,
going on
I
my
mean,
channel.
and
So
also, I mean, I don't know. That's based on how much time you have. I'm also like super willing to keep Tuesdays for that coding, and then do another thing for website, or just like kind of whatever. Yeah, like if you want to add a day, I'm down to add a day. But I think because I also want to get back to that video JSFX. John Tidy had a few ideas for that I thought was cool. So I want to get back and do all of that, but I just feel like website needs to be running. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing, Bo. I have so many ideas and so little time. But when my wife is on vacation, I may do a couple streams extravaganzas. And this is the first time I'm speaking about this idea out loud, except for when I pitched it to my wife, and she was like, "Okay, yeah, go ahead, do a compressor."
Cool.
Uh, yeah, but now that I'm committing to this, I guess I will do it, and it will be a lot of fun. And I kind of want my compressor, my Liafac compressor, to be a compressor as well as so I want it to be a compressor with downwards and upwards compression. I want it to be an expander as well. It may be a different JS effect, but I want it to be the same kind of
Cool.
interface, the same language, the same way that the Pro C2 kind of looks like the Pro G stuff. I want it to have the same language. So compressor, expander, gate, and limiter. And I want to do all
Cool.
four of them with the same kind of visual language.
And writer.
And I started reading up on papers and articles. And yeah, there is a paper that is really good about the implementation of compressors. And I can always peek at the source of the existing compressors in JS Effects in Reaper to learn more about them.
Nice.
Yeah. Fun stuff coming up, but this is just a tease. So Aria, in your browser, can you do the trick to show the fonts for the text IDDQD
Sure.
sound? And we can see that there will be in there Roboto as well as a bunch of other
It will
things.
be Roboto, and then yeah, there's some. Is there a way to read this bigger? Somewhere.
Yeah, click on the thing. And then, oh, it's not really like that. Click on, so you see on the right pane where age 1 is highlighted, click on body instead. It's right up.
Body, yeah.
And then you see, oh, that's an I. So it says Roboto, and then it gives you the name of the variable that it used. Maybe if you click on the variable, it will expand. There you go.
There so Georgia's gorgeous. Cambria Times New Roman. Cool.
These are serif fonts, and because Roboto is sans serif, I think we should go with sans serif for that as well. But here in the sans serif list, there is a list of fonts like
Helvetica.
Roboto is actually there already because Roboto is the system font in Android, but Seago is the system font in some versions of Windows, and Helvetica New is the old macOS system font.
Classic.
And the system UI font you see right in the beginning, the system UI font is San Francisco, the default font in macOS in the new versions. And then there is, what else? Yeah, there are these system fonts for all these different operating systems. So that's what's going on there. Okay. So we have a default font. We have not a default font. We have custom font, like the Google fonts, but we are serving it ourselves. And we have an image, and we have colors, and we have the whole setup to deploy. We are actually already deploying to GitHub Pages. We are just not on the right domain, but we are deploying. And we have a good system for working locally, and we have a sort of static website generator. I think this is a good point for us to
Sure.
pause, and then next week we can continue migrating the content, I guess, because we sort of have the styles in there, and we can. So how about this? I propose that we do the following, because we don't
Yeah.
have that much time. I propose that what we do next week is we do maybe just a simple page, maybe like my page that is super, super simple, but it's something that you would not be ashamed of
Right.
deploying. If that stays up for like 1 week, it's
Yeah,
okay.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, so we have something to deploy. And then if we don't have time to finish everything before the week's thing goes down, that's fine. So we deploy that, and we don't change the domain. We don't need to change the domain yet. We can wait until Wix starts charging you, and then
Cool.
we change the domain. But yeah, so we can do that. We can have something, just something real quick. Will take like 1 hour to put some links in there, and
Whoops, lost you for a sec
will be
there.
just a scaffold. And then start working on the migration of the material, migration the content, the blogs, essentially, blog posts.
Sounds awesome. I guess, like people want the scripting tutorials, and by people, I mean basically just Bo. But I'm also okay with, like, if you want to give me like a bunch of homework to do, and then that way during the stream we can still work on those video JS effects and stuff, and then I just have homework to do, like whatever you want. Basically, I mean, first of all, I really appreciate how you're helping me. You're saving me tons of money and teaching me lots of stuff. But also, yeah, let me know like what I can do to get it to like to be more prepared, or.
Yeah, so I guess the main thing for us right now, the main thing that I could assign you as homework is getting all the material, all the content in place. So you already exported those docs with the blog posts, and I think that we may use them, but we may not even use them. But the main thing I'm interested in is if you go to iddqdsound.com right now, you have a background image, and you said that you were not in love with that, and a video, and then some text that says sound design portfolio, visit my show reel page for more, and then a picture of you, and then a bunch of text. I want you to either go ahead and decide that you want to use that. If you decide that, oh, this text is perfect, so I don't want to change anything about it, don't worry about producing a doc file from this. I don't really need that. But make sure that you have, if you want to change this text in any way, go ahead and change that.
I have all of this in
image,
text form, but is there like a preferable way of just kind of extracting all this text from these pages? Okay.
No. I don't worry about how you're going to give this to me. I just want to have the material there. So the testimonials, I like them. Okay. The images, I like them. Okay. The links to the social networks. Oh, I'm actually forgetting about, I don't know, TikTok. Or maybe I don't want to have the link for Vimeo anymore because I'm not using that. So you know what I mean? Just do a pass of content and have a folder with a dump of all the things that you want to exist.
Yeah, I have I have 90% of this already, so cool.
Okay, and in terms of the blog posts, I think that your docs may not be the best way of doing this. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into this, but I believe that maybe the best way to do this will be to. Now, the problem with the doc is that you can always export that to HTML, but I don't know how that works. And I don't, in the sense that I know how to do it, I know how to click the button, but I don't know what HTML looks like when you produce HTML that way. And what I think I may do in this case is just write a web scraper real quick, something that a computer program, a throwaway script that will visit your site and download the HTML and clean up everything that we want to clean up and spit out some HTML on the other end that we can use in our static website generator to put a template around, a new template around the old content. and use that.
That's
instead.
cool. Yeah, I mean, when I was doing this by hand, I remember you saying like, if you do it once, just do it. If you do it twice, fine. And then after that, you got automated. So I was like, I'm doing all of this by hand, and it took like whatever, not too long. I only have 64 blogs, but I was like, Leandro would be like, type, boom, and it's all here.
And also take a look at the export options on Wix. If they have some sort of export for WordPress, hit that button, because whatever format we get from that may be preferable to scraping the
I
actual
talked to their
website.
support. They said no. I mean, Bo says Google it. I'll try that. Here's a second question, and then let's just get out of here. Can I just, like, what if we grab all this code and then strip the style? Is that dumb?
That's essentially what I'm proposing.
Oh, okay. The scraping is that. Okay.
Yeah, the scraping is just, let's write a program that pretends it's a browser, visits this web page, gets the HTML, the images, the whatever, and then gets rid of the template.
Cool.
And then spits out some HTML first to put in our new template. And we also don't run into any issues with Wix. Not that they would come after us, but they could complain, oh, you're using our layout. No, we are just scraping the material that you wrote. And that's yours.
Yeah.
But you can like waste 10 minutes looking at the WordPress stuff and not more.
Yeah.
Because worst comes to worst, it is completely doable.
Cool.
We can absolutely just scrape the website with a quick script. It will not be hard at all. In fact, I am already starting doing the research, get the material out. And let me just check this. So what I'm doing essentially is what I showed you how to do with fonts. Go to the inspector and then click on the little icon to inspect, and then click on or just hover to see the font. You know what I mean? I'm doing that to your website right now, and I'm looking at the HTML that is your website, and it looks like super clean stuff. Not super clean. It could be better, but yeah, most of the material is there. Yeah, I think we'll have a good time scraping this. It will not be the end of the world to scrape this content.
So yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do one more pass of content, but I think I have basically everything. And maybe I'll do an edit, whatever, and then I'll check Wix export to WordPress options. Yeah. Anything else? I guess I'll read this book.
Let me see.
Read a little bit on this, like read some stuff, just kind of learn.
Yeah, if you can read the Refactoring UI book or the Practical Typography book, if you want to read those, just to get a better understanding of design in general, I think it's a good thing. But you don't necessarily have to read those books if you don't have the time. But yeah, next time we'll do just a quick thing that we can throw together, and then we go to the scraping or whatever we are going to do with the content.
Sure. Sounds awesome.
Yep.
All right, everybody. So this has been an interruption to our usual workflow, but I guess it was between doing this and no stream. So hopefully somebody out there is appreciating that we're doing all this online and appreciating all the stuff Leandro's teaching us. See you tomorrow on Leandro's channel for some. We're getting back to recording real, honest to God music, right, Leandro?
Yes, we are going to record some weird percussion, maybe something else like backing vocals.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
harmonies.
if we have time, we can definitely do both. At the speed that we're going, realistically, probably just the percussion stuff. Because we just spend time and we like talk things through. So see you tomorrow. over there. Links of that is in the description. I'll add all the links that we talked about to the description of this stream. And yeah, any last words, Leandro?
Oh yeah, I do have last words. Commit and push so that we can see the source code for this on GitHub, but also anyone wants to go to idqdsound.github.io, they will see the new site.
Look at all this stuff. Okay, I'm going.
Yeah, this will be a big commit because it includes all the fonts, which has all the font sizes and whatnot. It's a lot of stuff. So just commit everything.
Shablamps.
And then when you push this, it may take like a bit longer to push this time.
But basically what I see on my local host, now if people in a minute or so go to the GitHub address, they will also see that. Cool.
Exactly.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Leandro, as always. And I'll see you tomorrow and see you all, show up tomorrow.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Adios, rock and roll. Keep on rocking in the free world.
Oh, and the idqdsound.github.io is already updated. Isn't that something?
Check it out.